Chapter 2280. The war slave was indestructible and contained immortal divinity. Gu Fei's godly snatching secret technique and Yuan spirit sword secret technique were attacks that targeted the soul and divine will, so they did not harm the war slave. Gu Fei successfully used the Yuan spirit sword secret technique to destroy the divine will that had entered the war slave, and then used his own divine will to take control of the war slave. When the old man from the Ji clan saw this scene, his eyeballs almost popped out. This was too unbelievable. He had never heard of a war slave being taken away by someone. It should be known that this was the strongest killing tool on the ancestral star of crepe myrtle. This war slave is not bad. Gu Fei could not help but nod. After his divine will entered the war slave, he could instantly sense every detail of the war slave. This war slave was simply a humanoid body formed from Tao patterns. The inside of the war slave was densely marked with countless Tao patterns. The Tao patterns intertwined and condensed an indestructible power of the Great Path. The origin of immortality. Gu Fei was shocked to find that in the depths of the endless Tao patterns, there was a ball of divine source that emitted immortal divinity. Within the divine source, there was an aura that made even Gu Fei's heart palpitate. Gu Fei was surprised and overjoyed. The value of this war slave was just too great. There was actually an immortal divine source inside of it. The master of the war slave was probably going to vomit blood. That was the origin of immortality. If he refined this divine source, he would have an indestructible body. However, it was not an easy task to obtain this origin of immortality. Otherwise, the master of the war slave would have already taken the divine source. The divine source was surrounded by endless Tao patterns. Even a powerful saint would find it difficult to break through the layers of Tao patterns and take the divine source. At this time, even Gu Fei would find it difficult to break through the endless Tao patterns and take the divine source. He needed to prepare well. Congratulations on obtaining an indestructible battle body, fellow Daoist. The old man of Ji clan said enviously. In the ancestral star, the war slave was an invincible and indestructible existence. Perhaps only a supremacy could completely destroy this killing tool. An indestructible war slave was enough to dominate the entire ancestral star. Haha, old man, why do I feel like there's something wrong with the way I look at you? Gu Fei said with a smile. He could see that the old man was extremely envious of this battle physique. If it wasn't for the fact that his cultivation wasn't any weaker than the old man's, the old man would have already snatched it. Roar! Just as the old man was feeling embarrassed, a roar suddenly rang out in the distance. The voice shook the heavens and the earth, and an extremely powerful aura of the divine path erupted. 9 beams of divine light shot up into the sky. 9 divine patterns of the great path appeared high up in the sky, exuding the most powerful ripples of the divine path. At this moment, apart from the ancient saints, all living beings felt their souls tremble. They involuntarily knelt on the ground and kowtowed to the 9 primordial patterns in the sky. Success! The old man's voice trembled. Another saint had appeared in his bloodline. This was the second saint to appear after him. My son, it's a pity that you didn't have the chance to see all this. The old man let out a long sigh, his eyes glistening with tears. Ji Changkong's parents died early. Ji Changkong grew up under the care of the old man. Among the major bloodlines of the Ji clan, only Ji Changkong's bloodline didn't have many people. However, because of the old man's existence, no one dared to look down on this bloodline. One should know that the old man was one of the most powerful existences in the Ji clan. Rumble, the heavens and earth shook. Endless chaotic chi was dispersed. The 9 primordial patterns shot up into the sky and imprinted themselves on the heavenly path. In the end, they even pushed the heavenly path open and shot up into the sky, emitting endless divine light. This scene shocked everyone to the extreme, especially those who had ambitions to walk the holy road. Their minds were even more shaken. This was the saints' heavenly tribulation. The saints' heavenly tribulation actually wanted to break through the restraints of the heavens and earth, even stepping on the heavenly path. No wonder saints were the strongest existences in the world. Every move they made had the power to destroy heaven and earth. One should know that even the heavenly path trembled under the feet of saints. I've finally become a saint. Just you wait, Empress Ji. I'll take back what I've lost with my own hands. Ji Changkong's voice rang out in the sky. It was like the voice of the heavenly path, spreading far and wide. All the living beings who heard it couldn't help but feel their hearts palpitate. Someone actually dares to challenge Empress Ji. Some of the experts from the ancestral star of crepe myrtle who had entered the chaotic world couldn't help but be shocked. One should know that Empress Ji was an invincible existence in the ancestral star of crepe myrtle. How many years has it been? Is someone finally going to challenge Empress Ji's ruling position? An ancient saint muttered. At this moment, the 9 primordial patterns in the sky started to dissipate. The saintly aura started to retract. Very soon, a figure walked down from the sky. Greetings, Master. Grandfather. Ji Changkong first bowed to Ji Yufei, then looked at the old man with incomparable excitement. Although he had already become a saint, he didn't dare to be impudent in front of Ji Yufei. He still treated Ji Yufei as his master. Very good. You're not bad. This is your grandfather. Who would have thought? Ji Yufei looked at Ji Changkong, then at the old man. This old man's temperament was like a raging fire. His temperament was completely different from Ji Changkong's gentle appearance. You actually really became this brat's subordinate. When the old man heard Ji Changkong's words, his snow-white hair immediately stood on end. His eyes flickered as he stared at Ji Changkong, almost wanting to slap him. You good for nothing. The old man's beard trembled. You two, grandfather and grandson, can catch up first. After saying that, Ji Yufei took a step forward and disappeared into the void. He didn't want to clash with this old man and make things difficult for Ji Changkong. You stinking brat. After seeing Ji Yufei leave, the old man couldn't bear it anymore. He pointed at Ji Changkong and cursed. How embarrassing. His own grandson actually had to serve someone else as his master and slave. This made him explode with anger. One must know that the Ji clan was incomparably prosperous on the ancestral star. They had created an unprecedented glory for other ancestral stars. The people of the Ji clan had the bloodline of a supreme being. How could they be someone else's slave? However, Ji Yufei didn't care about the grandfather and grandson. He directly returned to the divine mountain. The news of Ji Changkong becoming a saint spread very quickly. Some of the ancient saints from the ancestral star were incomparably shocked when they heard this news. They were not unfamiliar with the name Ji Changkong. He's actually still alive. This time, the Ji clan will have a good show to watch. Chapter 2281. The Ji clan was not as united as it seemed on the surface. After all, it was impossible for there to be no conflicts among the people in such a huge organization. 10,000 years ago, Ji Changkong was lost in the chaotic world, causing a huge commotion in the clan. The situation almost went out of control. Now, Ji Changkong even said that he wanted to settle the score with Emperor Ji. Some ancient saints could already smell blood. The ancestral planet of Ziwei was destined to not be peaceful anymore. What? That person became a saint? A furious roar rang out from a valley in the chaotic world. A black-robed young man had smashed a rock weighing hundreds of thousands of kilograms into pieces. Young master, I think we should return to Ziwei first. An azure-robed old man appeared behind the black-robed young man. What did you say? Do you think I'm afraid of that cripple? Ji Fan glared at the azure-robed old man. It was already very humiliating for him to lose to that person called Ji Yufei. Now, he actually wanted him to run back to Ziwei with his tail between his legs. Who was Ji Fan? He was the most outstanding genius of the Ji clan in the past 5,000 years. He was born with the Wuji body and was destined to be a supreme being. In this world, there was no one that could make him afraid. Even that Ji Yufei wasn't qualified to make him afraid. Young master, master has already given the order. We can't disobey, the azure-robed old man sighed. He was very clear about Ji Fan's personality. He was very arrogant and thought very highly of himself. He would suffer a great loss sooner or later. Ji Fan had already received a small lesson before, But this lesson didn't make him see his true nature. Instead, he was unwilling to accept it. "Father is really troublesome," Ji Fan said angrily. Emperor Ji was the current clan leader of the Ji clan. His orders couldn't be disobeyed. Moreover, as Emperor Ji's son, Ji Fan couldn't disobey his orders. If he didn't listen to Emperor Ji's orders, Emperor Ji's prestige would suffer and others would also be able to disobey his orders. Damn it. Ji Fan was very clear about the situation he was facing. Since Emperor Ji had already given the order, he could only return to Ziwei. He couldn't find Ji Yufei to settle the score. After that, Ji Fan left the Chaos World. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, 10 years had passed since Ji Changkong became a martial sage. This time, the primal Chaos World had been open for a very long time, far longer than any of the previous times. For all the human cultivators, the longer the Chaos World remained open, the more advantageous it would be for them. That way, there would be more people who could undergo the heavenly tribulation and become saints. However, there were very few people who successfully underwent the heavenly tribulation of a sage. In fact, they were pitifully few. Aside from Li Lingfeng and Ji Changkong, only 1 or 2 people had succeeded in the past 10 years. Countless people had fallen in this chaotic world. Too many people had died, but there were still people who continued to advance. The temptation of becoming a saint was too great. During these 10 years, Xiaoqing, Ji Yuzhong, Iron-Blood Daoist, Red Dragon, and the others had almost finished their preparations. It was time for them to face their tribulations. After 10 years of preparation, Little Qing's cultivation had reached the great perfection of the Sage-to-be realm. With the help of Ji Yufei, Ji Yuzhong's cultivation had also advanced by leaps and bounds, reaching the point where he was about to break through to the Sage-to-be level. As for the Iron-Blood Daoist, he had already reached the great perfection quasi-sage realm. He had delayed his tribulation because he felt that it was not enough. Now was the time. Red Dragon had cultivated for tens of thousands of years and had a deep foundation. After cultivating with Xiaoqing and receiving pointers from Xiaoqing, it was time for him to soar. As for Yarrow Yu, Zhongli Meng, and the others, their cultivation was not high enough. They could not take the risk to forcefully undergo the heavenly tribulation of a sage. One must know that even Ji Yufei could not help them much during the real heavenly tribulation. Among the 12 great bandits, only Zhuge Liang's cultivation had reached the great perfection quasi-sage realm. However, he knew that he could not survive the heavenly tribulation of a sage. Just as Ji Yufei was looking for a place for everyone to undergo the heavenly tribulation, someone was attracting the heavenly tribulation of a sage in the depths of the chaotic sea. Vroom. An ancient cauldron was floating in the air above a certain part of the chaotic God Sea. It was emitting an extremely powerful sage wave. Around the ancient cauldron, 18 illusory figures were faintly discernible. These were 18 illusory figures that looked like souls. They were very peculiar, but they were different from souls. This was because these 18 illusory figures would sometimes show their true physical bodies. Rumble, tribulation clouds came crashing down from the sky. The terrifying power of the heavens' tribulation was being released. Lightning bolts pierced through the heaven and earth, lighting up the dark heaven and earth continuously. A deity in white sat cross-legged on the ancient cauldron. She was calmly facing the power of the great Tao of the heaven and earth that all living beings in the heaven and earth feared to death. Demon woman, you want to undergo the heavenly tribulation? Dream on. Just as the heaven's tribulation was about to be activated, a figure appeared in the sky above the chaotic sea. An extremely powerful aura was emitted from this person. Which the deity in white merely snorted coldly, as though she did not care about this person at all. How dare you ignore the Emperor's yarn of the eastern ground? A chilling murderous aura erupted from the man's body. Buzz. A sword chime was heard. A sword light rushed out from that person's body. Within the sword light was a holy sword. On the holy sword, there were countless Tao patterns faintly visible, intertwining with the power of the great Tao. Eastern Emperor's yarn, how dare you stop the deity from undergoing the heavenly tribulation? You are courting death. If you know what's good for you, get out of here. At this moment, a voice was heard. After that, a middle-aged man in black walked over from afar, holding an iron spear that was dripping with blood. Southern border Shodai. When the Emperor Xian of the Eastern Ground saw that person, he could not help but be shocked. This person seemed to be in love with the demoness and had been pursuing her. How troublesome. Everyone in the heaven realm did not know about the southern border Shodai. He had gained his fame through killing. The iron spear in Shodai's hand was even stained with the blood of the saint. The blood on the tip of the spear was still flowing. You love-struck fool. This demoness will not even look at you. Why are you asking for trouble? The Emperor Xian of the Eastern Ground said. What did you say? When the southern border Shodai heard this, he immediately raised his eyebrows. The iron spear in his hand that was dripping with blood pointed at the Emperor Xian of the Eastern Ground. It seemed like he would fight to the death if there was any disagreement. I said that you are a love-struck fool. So what? If it were not for you, I would have killed this demoness long ago. The Emperor Xian of the Eastern Ground seemed to have had enough and said loudly, You are courting death. The southern border Shodai took a step forward. The iron spear that was dripping with blood directly pierced towards the Emperor Xian of the Eastern Ground. A powerful killing intent swept forward like a storm. Kill. The Emperor Xian of the Eastern Ground roared angrily. He became one with his sword and turned into a peerless heavenly sword. The dazzling sword light lit up the sky. It was as if the sword was going to split the world in half. Chapter 2282. Eastern Emperor Xianjiyu was the venerable emperor of the eastern region of the heaven realm. He used a divine sword to destroy the Xianming sect, which was also a major power in the eastern region of the heaven realm, and unified the eastern region. If the Golden Spirit Ape clan hadn't appeared, the eastern region of the heaven realm would have been his. Eastern Emperor Xianjiyu and Jiyu Fei had a great feud. His son, Purple Emperor Yuenga, was killed by Jiyu Fei. Therefore, this demoness, who was related to Jiyu Fei, had to die. He wasn't a sage, but he was very arrogant. He didn't even care about the heavenly tribulation of a sage. However, he had the strength to do so. After all, he had mastered 2 of the 9 secrets of the immortal path. Buzz. Eastern Emperor Xianjiyu attacked with all his might. The powerful sword light soared for thousands of miles, as if it could split the world in half. It was extremely terrifying. This was a power infinitely close to the sage level. Over the years, ancient Emperor Xian had become even stronger. His cultivation had reached the peak below the sage level. In fact, ancient Emperor Xian had long been qualified to break through to the sage level. However, he didn't do so because he wanted to succeed in one fell swoop. After countless years of accumulation, it was finally time to explode today. The southern border Shodai and the southern mountain god emperor were the 2 venerable emperors of the southern region of the heaven realm. They ruled over a region. When it came to the venerable emperors with the strongest murderous nature, no one in the entire heaven realm could compare to Shodai. Shodai was a ruthless person who had entered the Tao through killing. He had once killed all the experts of a superpower that had offended him. This was the Slayer Emperor. Once he was enraged, he slaughtered everything in his path. The killing intent on his body was so intense that it caused all living things to tremble. Kill. Shodai was extremely powerful. He held the blood-dripping spear in his hand and rushed towards ancient Emperor Xian. The entire world trembled with every step he took. It was as if he was treading on the great Tao of heaven and earth. The essence of the world gathered around Shodai. Even the power of the heavenly tribulation was drawn over. Clang. The Shodai's iron spear collided with the frightening sword light, producing a metallic sound that could penetrate the eardrums of a great perfection sage-to-be. The 2 figures quickly separated. In this exchange, neither of them gained any advantage. Are you looking down on me by not using the 9 secrets of the immortal Tao? Shodai stared at immortal Emperor Yuanjiyu and said coldly. The murderous aura on his body intensified. Even the naked eye could vaguely see that there was a blood-red ocean around him. In the ocean, there were countless white bones floating. I don't need the 9 secrets of the immortal Tao to deal with you. Yuanjiyu Emperor Xian's tone was equally cold. In the heaven realm, it was not a secret that the Eastern Emperor's Yan had mastered 2 of the 9 secrets of the immortal Tao. In the past, someone had forced the primordial Emperor's Yan to use those 2 secret techniques. It's none of your business. Suddenly, a voice rang out. Haha, I already said that you're a love-struck fool. The others don't need your help, but you jumped out yourself. What's going on? You think too highly of yourself. Yuan Jiyu, the Eastern Emperor's Yan, said with a smile. Humph. Sha Di sneered and did not say anything else. However, he still locked his eyes on the Eastern Emperor's Yan. As soon as the Eastern Emperor's Yan revealed any flaws, he would immediately deal a fatal blow. Of course, the Eastern Emperor's Yan did not dare to look down on the Sha Di of the southern border. One should know that the Sha Di's murderous nature was too strong. Not many people who went against him could survive. Buzz. At this moment, under the heavenly tribulation, the ancient cauldron vibrated. The white-robed fairy who was sitting cross-legged on the ancient cauldron had already stood up. She had an ethereal aura, as though she could fly up to the 9 heavens at any time and become a supreme female. Although they were both from the immortal Tao, the white-robed fairy's path was different from the Eastern Emperor's Yan's. Yuan Jiyu, you scoundrel, come at me if you want to kill me. Sha Di, don't stop me. The fairy stepped on the ancient cauldron and there were 9 intertwining immortal marks on her body. Although she was a lady, she gave off an extremely strong sense of oppression. Rumble, the tribulation cloud in the sky was pressing down. Purple lightning bloomed in the tribulation cloud and it could strike down on the white-robed fairy at any time. This was the sage's heavenly tribulation. If it was someone else, they would have been extremely nervous and prepared their strongest celestial device to fight against the heavenly tribulation. How could they be as relaxed as the white-robed fairy? Haha, do you want to pull me through the heavenly tribulation together? As you wish. I want to see who can survive the heavenly tribulation between the 2 of us. The Eastern Emperor's Yan was very confident. Then, he actually walked towards the white-robed fairy step by step, as though he did not care about the sage's heavenly tribulation at all. Sha Di shook the blood-dripping iron spear in his hand and was about to attack. Sha Di, I've said that you don't have to worry about my affairs. Upon seeing this, the white-robed fairy immediately stopped Sha Di. Sha Di hesitated for a moment. At this moment, the Eastern Emperor's Yan and Yuan Jiyu had already entered the range of the sage's heavenly tribulation that the white-robed fairy had triggered. A tribulation-attracting force immediately shrouded Yuan Jiyu Emperor's Yan. Boom! At the moment when the tribulation-attracting force shrouded Yuan Jiyu Emperor's Yan, the power of the heavenly tribulation was finally triggered. A sea of purple lightning fell from the sky and instantly swallowed the 2 of them. Die, Demonis! Amidst the endless purple lightning, Yuan Jiyu Emperor's Yan's roar could be heard. Even the sound of the heavenly thunder could not cover his voice. It was extremely powerful. The one who will die is you, old thief. The white-robed fairy's voice was also heard. Seeing this scene, even Sha Di was extremely shocked. The 2 of them were actually fighting while undergoing the heavenly tribulation. Such a thing was simply unheard of and unseen. There had never been such a crazy person who actually fought endlessly in the heavenly tribulation. Buzz. The ancient cauldron vibrated and 18 black shadows appeared around the white-robed fairy. Each of the shadows emitted an extremely terrifying aura. Cauldron of myriad poisons. Yuan Jiyu Emperor's Yan was very afraid of the 18 black shadows. It was a very famous fairy weapon in the heaven realm. This demonis was called the myriad poisons fairy because of the cauldron of myriad poisons. The 18 black shadows were the poisonous bodies condensed by the power of the cauldron of myriad poisons. As long as these poisonous bodies pounced on the body, even someone as powerful as Yuan Jiyu Emperor's Yan would die. At this moment, under the command of the myriad poisons fairy, the 18 black shadows around her immediately pounced on Yuan Jiyu Emperor's Yan. The poisonous power emitted from the 18 poisonous bodies turned into a black wind and swept towards Yuan Jiyu Emperor's Yan. Wherever the black wind passed, even the purple lightning formed by the purple heaven tribulation was annihilated. You demonis! Yuan Jiyu Emperor's Yan was shocked and angry at the same time. He had no choice but to retreat. Sky-piercing sword. Yuan Jiyu Emperor Xian stretched out his right hand and a divine sword that emitted the aura of the divine path immediately appeared in his hand. Then, without thinking much, he directly slashed forward with the sword. Swoosh! The sword light suddenly appeared and rushed forward like a purple dragon. It forcefully split the sweeping black wind in half and the black wind dissipated in the void. Flying celestial sword, Yuan Jiyu Emperor Xian then merged with the sword and turned into an immortal flying celestial swordlight. It directly pierced towards Yang The powerful swordlight tore the void and displayed its formidable power. He cultivated the sword principle and the flying celestial sword. This flying celestial sword was very famous in the heaven realm as it was the supreme sword principle passed down by an ancient sage. In the past, that ancient sage used the flying celestial sword in his hand to kill people and make a name for himself. Yuan Jiyu Emperor Xian obtained the inheritance of this ancient sage and also the divine weapon of that ancient sage, the flying celestial sword. This made him like a tiger that had grown wings and he could display the power of the flying celestial sword principle to the fullest. Cauldron suppresses heaven and earth. Yang directly manipulated the ancient cauldron to suppress it. On the ancient cauldron, 9 celestial marks emerged and interweaved into a powerful divine path power, sealing the void. Yuan Jiyu Emperor Xian's flying celestial sword collided with the ancient cauldron. The two divine weapons flew away at the same time and Yuan Jiyu Emperor Xian could not maintain the state of being one with the human world. Yang was not weaker than Yuan Jiyu Emperor Xian. Both of them had divine weapons in their hands. It was not easy for the two of them to determine the winner in a short time. Yang and Yuan Jiyu Emperor Xian's sage heavenly tribulations were launched at the same time. This was much more powerful than the tribulations of one person. Even Sho Di had to retreat far away. The powerful fluctuations alarmed many people. Even in the depths of the chaotic sea, many ancient sages came to check. When those ancient sages saw that both of them were undergoing heavenly tribulations at the same time and were fighting endlessly, everyone was stunned. This was too unbelievable. Little sister Yang do you need me to help you? Just as Yang and Yuan Jiyu Immortal Emperor were locked in battle, a voice suddenly came down from the sky. A divine palace was faintly discernible there. That is, a divine palace appeared silently in the sky, which surprised everyone, especially those ancient sages. Even they did not know when this divine palace had appeared. Yuan Jiyu how dare you attack my grandmaster's wife? Are you courting death? A fair and chubby little fatty walked out of the divine palace. This little fatty was not the person in the divine palace. The main character had not appeared yet. Little brat, what are you shouting for? At this time, Sho Di was unhappy. What grandmaster's wife? Since when did Fairy Yang get married? However, Sho Di did not dare to be negligent because he had already figured out the origin of this divine palace. The owner of this divine palace was not someone to be trifled with. Yuan Jiyu Emperor Xian was in trouble. Sho Di, you are still pestering my grandmaster's wife. What is the meaning of this? The little fatty did not seem to care about Sho Di at all as he scolded him. Some ancient sages from the heaven realm could not help but be moved. Even if Yuan Jiyu Emperor Xian could successfully undergo heavenly tribulations and become a sage, he would still die. I was wondering who it was. It turns out that the old turtle has arrived. Yuan Jiyu Emperor Xian's voice came from under the heavenly tribulation. This. Chapter 2283. Who didn't know the Crown Prince's son? The old tortoise had been fighting in the heavenly realm all these years and made a name for himself. Even the Emperor Xian of the Four Directions had to avoid him. He was in the limelight for a while. And now, Yuan Jiyu, the Eastern Emperor Xian, dared to call the old tortoise in front of the Crown Prince's son. Did he eat the guts of an ancient beast or was he tired of living? One should know that the Crown Prince's son had the Crown Prince's seal, an extreme demon weapon. Once the Crown Prince's seal was used, who could fight against it? Even an ancient saint would have to retreat. Yuan Jiyu, you thief, do you want to die? Little fatty shouted angrily. Mate, even if you rely on that person, you still dare to ignore my clan lord. A voice came from the divine palace. Then, a figure surrounded by divine flames walked out. It was a powerful creature with a dragon's head and a human's body. Some ancient saints from the heavenly realm recognized this powerful creature. It was one of the generals under the crown prince's son. Its true form was a fire Qilin. If Jiu Fei was here, he would definitely recognize this general because this fire Qilin was Balon. The fire Qilin Balon was a divine beast that Jiu Fei subdued. In the heavenly realm, Jiu Fei and He Tian returned to the mortal world. Xiaoqing, Balon, and little fatty Jiu Xiaofeng couldn't return because they were with the old tortoise. This time, the chaotic world opened and the entrance to the chaotic world appeared in the 3 realms and 6 paths. Only then did the old tortoise and the others have the opportunity to enter the chaotic world and even return to the mortal world. All the experts of the 3 realms and 6 paths gathered in the chaotic world. One could imagine how many great completion quasi-saints had entered this part of the chaotic world. In the past 10 years, countless people had triggered the heavenly tribulation of sages. However, most of them ended up dead. Countless people had fallen here. Actually, the primal chaos world only opened once every 10,000 years. Every time it opened, it was a calamity for those great perfection quasi-sages. There were simply too few people who could become sages. This time, it happened to be a once-in-a-lifetime change. Such an opportunity didn't come by often, and none of the great perfection quasi-sages wanted to miss this opportunity to become sages. "Who are you? How dare you speak to me like that?" Eastern Emperor Xian said as he fought with Yang Er. Rumble, the heavens and earth shook as boundless purple lightning bloomed. This was the most terrifying type of lightning in the world, the 9 heavens purple lightning. The East Immortal Emperor and Yang Er had triggered the sage heavenly tribulation together. The power of the 9 heavens purple lightning was many times stronger than when it was triggered by a single person. Faced with such a lightning tribulation, an ordinary great perfection quasi-sage would have long given up all hope. However, Yang Er and Eastern Emperor Xian were not ordinary great perfection quasi-sages. Buzz. The ancient cauldron shook and 18 black shadows appeared around Yang Er like phantoms. These were the 18 poison bodies. They were incomparably terrifying. Even a great perfection quasi-sage would die if they were hit by them. Clang. The ancient cauldron and Eastern Emperor Xian's flying immortal swords clashed continuously. Both saint weapons radiated divine light. Runes appeared on the ancient cauldron and interweaved into a supreme power of the great Tao, knocking away the flying immortal swords. The ancient cauldron in Yang Er's hand was extraordinary. When saving someone, it would turn into the myriad medicine cosmos cauldron. It could refine supreme medicines that could revive the dead. However, when facing an enemy, it could turn into the myriad poison cosmos cauldron and condense the most powerful poison in the world. It could even poison sages. Eastern Emperor Xian was very wary of the myriad poison cosmos cauldron. Coupled with the 18 poison bodies, he had to keep dodging, not daring to let it get close to him. No one knew how powerful the poison of these poison bodies was, but Eastern Emperor Xian didn't want to experience it himself. Flying immortal beheading the moon, Eastern Emperor Xian had no choice but to use his ultimate move. He shouted and the flying immortal sword emitted an unprecedentedly powerful sword light. The sword chi spread for hundreds of thousands of miles, blocking the power of the heavenly tribulation. Inside the sword light, there were 9 divine runes of the immortal Tao that attracted the power of the great Tao. Although these 9 divine runes were blurry and had yet to take form, they could already trigger the power of a saint. Universe Cauldron. Yang Er didn't back down and directly shook the ancient cauldron in her hand. Buzz. The ancient cauldron let out a deafening rumble. Then, 2 balls of heavenly light rose from the ancient cauldron. One of them was white like a sun and emitted an infinite amount of heavenly light that lit up the entire world. The other ball of heavenly light was as black as ink and emitted a dark light. Eastern Emperor Xian was shocked to see Yang Er's divine ability. It was indeed a universe cauldron. Inside the myriad poison cosmos cauldron, there were 2 energies of yin and yang. A mass of black and white light soared into the sky, turning into a yin-yang Dao diagram that blocked the radiant sword light that was chopping down towards it. The diagram of yin and yang was incomparably powerful. This was a divine form of the Tao. As the black and white light revolved, it was as if a world was evolving. "Break for me," Eastern Emperor Xian roared. All of his immortal energy was concentrated on his sword. He wanted to end this battle with a single sword strike. He didn't want to waste time with this demoness. One must know that the old tortoise had already arrived. Nobody knew if this old tortoise would suddenly attack them or not. Eastern Emperor Xian had some misgivings. He wanted to end this battle as soon as possible. However, Yang's cultivation was similar to his. It was impossible for her to end this battle quickly. "Old Yuan, let me deal with you." At this moment, the fire Qilin Bulon was already walking towards the battlefield. He didn't fear the Saint Tribulation because he, too, had the qualifications to trigger it. Another ruthless character. Everyone was shocked at this scene. If the fire Qilin joined the battle, then it would be the same as 3 people facing the tribulation together. 3 people facing the tribulation together. This was a crazy thing. Even the ancient saints who had lived for countless years had never seen or heard of such a thing. "Bulon, don't interfere." Yang spoke at this time. The fire Qilin Baron couldn't help but be stunned when he heard this, and then he stopped. High up in the sky, there was a middle-aged man sitting on a throne in the main hall of the divine palace. A powerful true dragon aura spread out from his body, like an ancient ancestral dragon, giving off a feeling of absolute power and terror. This person was the old tortoise. He was very calm and didn't attack Eastern Emperor Xian. This was because in the void opposite him stood a blurry silhouette. He sensed danger from this silhouette. Chapter 2284. High up in the sky, on the opposite side of the divine palace, the old tortoise could still sense the mysterious man's existence even though there was a sage's heavenly tribulation between them. "I didn't expect this guy to be here. No wonder Yuan Gu dared to ignore me," the old tortoise muttered to himself while sitting on the throne in the divine palace. The mysterious man was on the other side of the sage's heavenly tribulation and was thousands of miles away from the divine palace. However, a distance of thousands of miles was nothing to the old tortoise. The son of the Grand Emperor? The mysterious man's figure was blurry, like a soul without flesh and blood. He did not emit a powerful aura and just stood quietly in the void. However, he gave off a palpitating feeling, as if he was facing an unreachable ancient mountain. "I must see who you are today." The old tortoise's figure suddenly disappeared from the divine palace. The moment the old tortoise disappeared, the blurry figure disappeared into the void as if it had merged with the surrounding world. "Come out!" Old Tortoise roared furiously. Its figure appeared near where the mysterious man originally stood and blasted a punch into the void. Buzz! The void trembled, and pitch-black spatial cracks appeared. A circle of transparent void fluctuations spread out in an instant. The old tortoise's punch did not shatter the void, but it displayed unfathomable power. The mysterious man who had hidden in the void fell out of the void. "It's just an incarnation." Old Tortoise smiled, then reached out and grabbed the mysterious man in his hand. The mysterious man's incarnation was no match for the old tortoise at all. The difference between the two was too big. Perhaps the mysterious man's real body could only fight against the old tortoise. Boom! Just as the old tortoise was about to read the memories of the mysterious man's incarnation, the incarnation exploded. A powerful destructive force forced the old tortoise to take a few steps back. Roar! The old tortoise roared. The other party was decisive in killing and had actually self-destructed his incarnation. Just as the mysterious man's incarnation exploded, a middle-aged man in a white robe, who was sitting by a stream in a valley in the depths of the chaotic world, suddenly opened his eyes. The mysterious man sensed the destruction of the incarnation. Who destroyed my incarnation? Could it be him? The middle-aged man in the white robe muttered to himself. Then, he closed his eyes again and sat cross-legged on the ground. He activated his mysterious technique and quickly entered into a deep state of cultivation. Just who is going against me? Old Tortoise was also muttering to himself. When this mysterious man was in the heaven realm, he had fought with him several times. However, every time Old Tortoise was about to use his trump card, this guy would slip away. This made Old Tortoise gnash his teeth in hatred. At this time, the sage's heavenly tribulation was wreaking havoc. Yang and Eastern Emperor Xian had to use a part of their power to resist the sage's heavenly tribulation. As a result, their situation became more and more dangerous. In the end, Yang and Eastern Emperor Xian had no choice but to stop and resist the saint's heavenly tribulation with all their might. Eastern Emperor Xian knew that he was no match for the Old Tortoise, so he charged into the depths of the chaotic world with billions of bolts of purple lightning. He did not want to take the risk, because if Yang was a step faster than him and became a saint, he would be out of luck. Seeing that Eastern Emperor Xian had retreated, Bulon the Fire Chelin snorted coldly and chased after him. Unfortunately, my cultivation is not high enough. In front of the divine palace, little Fatty's eyes were burning. He wanted to participate, but he did not dare to leave the divine palace because he was not even a semisage. If he left the divine palace, his life would be in danger because Old Tortoise had many enemies. Those people could not do anything to Old Tortoise, but they could do nothing to little Fatty. Even little Fatty's father, Jiyu Zhong, was only a great completion sage-to-be after receiving guidance from Jiyu Fei. It would be very difficult for him to improve further. Only those who embarked on the path of martial arts knew that to become a martial sage, one had to put in more effort than others. Old Tortoise returned. That mysterious man was very decisive. He self-destructed his incarnation and left nothing behind, not even a trace to trace. Damn it. Old Tortoise sat on his throne in the divine palace, breathing heavily. He was not afraid of the other party, but the other party had secretly attacked him, making it impossible for him to defend. Go and capture that Eastern Emperor Xian. Remember, I want him alive. Old Tortoise roared towards the back of the palace. Yes, Patriarch. An old voice was heard. Then, an old man left the divine palace and disappeared into the dusky sky. Old Tortoise had already unified the demon race of the Heaven Realm, becoming the true demon lord of the Heaven Realm. Countless experts of the demon race followed him, and even some ancient saints of the demon race acknowledged him as their master. The surviving generals of the demon race's supreme Tai Huang also came to seek refuge with Old Tortoise. The generals under Tai Huang were all super old antiques who had lived for countless years. They had once followed Tai Huang to conquer the ancient world, conquering a huge territory. At this time, Yang tribulation had reached its most crucial moment. Old Tortoise and Jiyu Fei were sworn brothers, so naturally, he did not want anyone to attack Yang. Anyone who dares to cause trouble will be my enemy. Such words came from the divine palace. The voice contained the fluctuations of the great Tao, causing the hearts of the surrounding ancient saints to tremble and palpitate. Not just anyone could produce such a divine voice of the great Tao. This person's cultivation was extremely profound, and he was definitely a cultivator among saints. No one was willing to offend such a person. And the ancient saints from the Heaven Realm did not dare to provoke Old Tortoise. It should be known that this guy had the demon weapon Tai Huang seal refined by the supreme Tai Huang of the demon race. No one had anything better to do than to court death. Yang foundation was very solid. She calmly passed the tribulation. The yin and yang qi nurtured in the cauldron of myriad poisons blocked most of the power of the tribulation for her. Without any suspense, 9 primordial Tao patterns condensed in Yang body. They broke through the shackles of the heavenly Tao and attracted the power of the saint level. Yang had become a saint. This shocked everyone. It should be known that becoming a saint was too difficult. Countless people had gone through the tribulation, but only a few had succeeded. Those who did not had a miserable fate. This was the heavenly Tao. The heavenly Tao was emotionless. As long as one failed to pass the tribulation, there was only one result, and that was to be completely obliterated by the power of the heavenly Tao. They could not even become ghosts. After Yang became a saint, she was taken into the divine palace by Old Tortoise. After a while, Yang left to find Jiyu Fei. Chapter 2285. The primal chaos world was a huge world. No one knew how vast this world was. Even a powerful sage would not know where the end of this world was. Rumble, endless purple tribulation lightning wreaked havoc as a mass of lightning enveloped 1,000 miles in radius. It wrapped around a figure and quickly swept across the sky, instantly disappearing into the dusky world. Just as the mass of lightning disappeared, a figure appeared in the sky. It was a powerful creature with a dragon's head and a human's body. Flames flickered around this creature's body. Yuan Gu's ghost runs really fast. The fire Chelin Bullon cursed. Then, his figure also disappeared in the sky, chasing after the purple lightning. Just as the fire Chelin Bullon chased after the figure, an old man also passed by in the sky and followed Bullon. At this time, the Eastern Emperor Xian was in a sorry state. He had already sensed that there was a powerhouse chasing after him, so he did not dare stop. Moreover, what made the ancient Emperor Xian feel threatened was the sage heavenly tribulation that he had triggered. He knew that he could not stop to transcend the tribulation. Otherwise, the person behind him would catch up. The ancient Emperor Xian sneered as he directly headed towards a special region in the primal chaos world. This was where the mysterious person he had sought refuge with was. He knew very well how powerful the mysterious man was because when he met him, he was pressed down by the other party with just one palm. If the other party wanted to kill him, it would be as easy as pinching an ant to death. The people chasing after him were definitely not a match for that person. The ancient Emperor Xian wanted to borrow a knife to kill him. At this time, the primal chaos world suddenly shook. The chaotic channels that appeared in the ancestral land of life began to become unstable. Is the primal chaos world going to close? Someone exclaimed. This was not a good thing for everyone. Once the primal chaos world closed, it would only reappear after another 10,000 years. The changes in the primal chaos world made everyone unable to sit still. It should be known that it was impossible to become a saint in the outside world. The opportunity to become a saint would only appear in the primal chaos world. However, if the cultivators who entered the primal chaos world did not leave in time, they would be trapped inside. However, this seemed to be a false alarm. The chaotic world shook for a while before returning to normal, and the chaotic passageway stabilized. However, everyone knew that this was a sign that the primal chaos world was about to close. Some people began to prepare to leave, especially those ancient sages. There was nothing in the primal chaos world other than boundless primal energy. While it was possible to become a sage here, it was not the stage for ancient sages. The 3 realms and 6 paths were the true stage for saint-level experts. Rumble, the heavens and earth shook. Endless purple lightning struck down from the sky towards a figure on the ground. The destructive aura caused people's hearts to palpitate. This was the might of the heavens and earth. Yuan Gu was undergoing a tribulation. This was a crimson region. In this region, everything that could be seen was crimson. Even the primal chaos chi was dyed crimson. How could there be such a place in the chaos world? Outside the crimson region, the fire Chelin Bullon stood in the void and stared at the figure that was undergoing a tribulation 1,000 miles away. His eyes flickered with flames. Bullon was a divine beast fire Chelin, so he was naturally sensitive to dangerous auras. He instinctively sensed the danger, so he stopped outside the crimson region. At this moment, an old man appeared outside the crimson region in another direction. This is. The old man seemed to have noticed something and was extremely shocked. Yuan Gu had chosen to undergo his tribulation here. He knew very well that if the 2 outside dared to enter this region, his mysterious master would definitely take action. Trash, I can't believe you were chased back by these 2 little fellows. How shameful. Suddenly, a divine consciousness was transmitted from the crimson region and a voice rang out in everyone's hearts. Ha ha, just as Yuan Gu was about to speak, a loud laugh came from the horizon. Then, a divine palace appeared in the sky and quickly approached the crimson region. The old tortoise had arrived. He had immediately rushed over after receiving the news. This surprised the fire Chelin Bullon that the old tortoise had actually come personally. You old tortoise, what's so funny about it? The mysterious man in the crimson region continued to transmit his voice. I'd like to see who dares to oppose me. The old tortoise's voice was transmitted from the divine palace. Then, A figure rushed out of the divine palace and directly entered the crimson region in front of them. Boom! A crimson mountain exploded. The old tortoise had attacked mercilessly. A terrifying saint-level power erupted, causing the entire crimson region to shake. He wanted to force out the mysterious man who had been opposing him in every way. "Do you want to fight?" A blurry figure appeared high up in the sky, and a peerless and terrifying aura spread out from this figure. Nonsense. The old tortoise did not want to waste any more time talking to this person. He immediately attacked that person. Buzz. The person stretched out his hand and the void shook. 9 mysterious Tao patterns rushed out of his hand and turned into 9 divine arrows, piercing towards the old tortoise. "Let's see how you escape this time," the old tortoise shouted. This mysterious man had fought with the old tortoise several times before. However, the old tortoise had escaped every time. This guy would definitely escape when the situation was not right. Bang! A huge seal rushed out of the old tortoise's hand and smashed forward. The 9 divine arrows that were shooting towards the old tortoise were all shattered by the seal. There was an aura of the extreme path lingering on the seal. Tai Huang seal. The mysterious man was surprised to see the old tortoise use the Tai Huang seal right away. This seal was a demonic weapon of the extreme path. The old tortoise did not use the Tai Huang seal to kill his opponent directly. The seal soared into the sky and froze in the sky. A powerful force came down and sealed the void. Die! The old tortoise suppressed the void with the Tai Huang seal and then attacked the mysterious man. Swoosh! The mysterious man used his body technique and disappeared on the spot. The next moment, he appeared thousands of feet away. His speed was so fast that even the old tortoise was shocked. Seal. The old tortoise formed a seal with both hands. 9 primitive Tao patterns rushed out and interweaved into a Tao diagram. It went to seal the mysterious man. Break. The mysterious man roared, and an extremely powerful force erupted from his body, colliding with the Tao diagram that was being sealed. Rumble. Like thunder, 2 terrifying forces above the saint plane collided and cancelled each other out. A wave of destruction swept out. The sky changed color between the 2 experts and the sun and moon dimmed. Hideous cracks appeared on the ground, and it continued to sink. This mysterious man was able to fight with the old tortoise. His cultivation was so powerful that it shocked everyone to the extreme. Moreover, this mysterious man did not show his true face from the beginning. There was an aura of the great path lingering on his body. No one could see his appearance clearly. Just as the old tortoise and the mysterious man were fighting, the fire Chilean Bullon and the old man also stepped into the red area. They then moved towards the ancient Emperor's Yarn. This, under the heavenly tribulation, the ancient Emperor's Yarn could not help but be shocked. There were actually 2 experts targeting him. The fire Chilean was not a threat. However, the old man made the ancient Emperor's Yarn feel threatened. "That guy is useless to me." The old tortoise transmitted a message to the old man. The old man did not say anything. He directly stretched out his right palm and pressed forward. In his palm, 9 primitive Tao patterns interweaved and attracted the power of the Great Path. This was a saint plane technique. The old man was actually a demon saint. Endless tribulation lightning was constantly destroyed in front of the old man's palm. The old man's palm directly hit the depths of the heavenly tribulation. He wanted to kill the ancient Emperor's Yarn in one fell swoop. However, the ancient Emperor's Yarn would not die so easily. When the old man's palm hit him, he had already retreated. "Old man, it won't be that easy to kill me." The ancient Emperor's Yarn coughed up blood. Although the old man's palm did not really hit the ancient Emperor's Yarn, the wind from the palm had already caused a great impact on the ancient Emperor's Yarn. Buzz. The ancient Emperor's Yarn held the flying immortal sword in his hand and slashed at the old man. The power of the heavenly tribulation was driven by this sword and frantically gathered towards the flying immortal sword. Boom! The old man seemed to have casually thrown a punch, but a powerful force erupted from his fist, shattering the flying immortal swordlight that was slashing towards him. The ancient Emperor's Yarn was no match for the old man. After all, the old man was a demon saint of the demon race. There were not many demon saints in the demon race. It was unimaginable that the old man had survived until now. This old man had once followed the Tai Huang and was one of the Tai Huang's old subordinates. He only listened to the old tortoise. Chaotic reversal. The ancient Emperor's yarn did not care too much. He directly used one of the 9 secrets of the immortal path, the chaotic reversal secret technique. Most of the old man's fist force was dispersed. Even so, the ancient Emperor's yarn was blasted away again. At this time, the fire Chilean Bullon could only watch as the ancient Emperor's yarn was beaten so badly that he could not stand up. However, he did not dare to enter the range of the sage heavenly tribulation. He was not ready yet. The sage heavenly tribulation was not an ordinary heavenly tribulation. There were too many people who failed. The soil of the chaos world was dyed red. Only an extremely small number of people could break through the shackles of cultivation and transcend the sage heavenly tribulation, soaring into the sky. Your subordinate is about to die. Why aren't you helping him? The old tortoise said as he attacked the mysterious man. The mysterious man snorted coldly. 9 primitive Tao patterns intertwined. The power of the great Tao was vast and mighty. It turned into a destructive storm that swept towards the old tortoise. Chapter 2286. Old Tortoise finally blocked the mysterious black hand in a very strange place in the chaotic world and fought with it. However, what surprised Old Tortoise was that the mysterious black hand was extremely powerful and was able to fight with him endlessly. This was a powerful sage. The mysterious man was shrouded in a layer of mysterious Daoist rhymes. Even Old Tortoise could not see through this person's true appearance. Who are you? Old Tortoise broke through the layers of astral winds and directly arrived in front of the mysterious man. He then punched the mysterious man's chest and the powerful fist force crushed the void. The mysterious man did not speak. His body suddenly became blurry as if he was about to disappear into the void. Old Tortoise's punch directly passed through the mysterious man's body. At this moment, Old Tortoise felt danger. The hair on his body stood up and almost exploded. He was like a cat whose tail was suddenly stepped on. Swoosh. Without hesitation, Old Tortoise rushed forward. Just as Old Tortoise rushed forward, a big black hand silently slapped out of the void and instantly pierced through the place where Old Tortoise was originally standing. You're a demon. Old Tortoise was extremely shocked. He sensed a trace of demonic aura from the black hand that slapped out of the void. Only demons would have demonic aura. The mysterious man still did not make a sound. He walked out of the void. The figure that Old Tortoise punched through was just an after-image of him. Kill. Old Tortoise finally got serious when he sensed the demonic aura on the mysterious man. He roared and stretched out his hand to grab the mysterious man. Rumble. A purple dragon claw rushed out of his hand and burst out a powerful wave of demonic power. The entire world trembled under the impact of this demonic power. This was the power that originated from the bloodline of the Supreme Emperor of the Demon Clan. The purple dragon claw displayed terrifying power and directly tore the void between heaven and earth. The black aura on the mysterious man's body was vast and mighty. The black aura with demonic aura instantly condensed into a black hand and met the purple dragon claw. Bam! The two forces collided in an instant. The black hand collapsed and the black Tao patterns dissipated in the void. The purple dragon claw directly smashed the black hand and then grabbed at the mysterious man. Buzz! The air trembled and the mysterious man was grabbed by the purple dragon claw. The sound of bones breaking rang out. Roar! The mysterious man roared furiously, and a strand of supreme saint rank energy erupted from his body. 9 black Tao patterns rushed out from his body, and forcefully pushed the violet dragon claw away before he charged out. Catcher! The sound of bones rubbing against each other could be heard from the mysterious man's body. His broken bones were being reconnected, and in an instant, he had completely recovered. Humph! Old Tortoise was extremely domineering. At this time, his expression was solemn. He directly displayed his strongest combat strength and pressed forward step by step toward the mysterious man. The Patriarch's cultivation base has risen again. Outside the battlefield, The fire Chilean Bullon couldn't help but be shocked when he saw this scene. Old Tortoise's cultivation speed was really too fast. He was improving almost every day, especially after he became a saint. When he became a saint, no one was alerted. Although the heavenly tribulation of a saint was very noisy and ordinary people couldn't hide the extremely strong fluctuation of heaven and earth, this was only to ordinary people. Old Tortoise was not an ordinary person. He had the Tai Huang seal of his father, the supreme Tai Huang of the demon clan. With the Tai Huang seal, no one would be able to sense it even if the old tortoise made a bigger noise. This kind of cultivation base is far from his peak. An old voice suddenly came from the side, causing Baron to be startled. He quickly turned around and saw that the ancient demon of the demon race was already standing beside him without him noticing. This ancient demon used to follow the Tai Huang, and his background was so powerful that it could scare people to death. It should be known that the era of the Tai Huang was extremely long ago. It was hard to imagine that the experts of the demon clan from that era could still be alive today. As an ancient demon who used to follow the Tai Huang, the old man naturally knew the cultivation base and strength of Old Tortoise. Back then, the 9 sons of the Tai Huang were powerful existences that shook the entire untainted land. Old Tortoise was the eldest of the 9 sons of the Tai Huang. One could imagine how powerful he was at his peak. Since the eldest of the 9 sons of the Tai Huang was furious, the mysterious man immediately couldn't withstand it. He was constantly pushed back, and his body was covered with blood. His body had suffered a great impact. I've sealed the area with the Tai Huang seal. Let's see how you escape this time. Old Tortoise said with a murderous look. This guy had already attacked him several times before, causing him to be covered in dust and dirt. He even lost a few generals of the demon clan. The mysterious man didn't say anything, but the demonic aura on his body became more and more powerful. It was as if there was a supreme true demon hiding in his body. In the end, the mysterious man's body was directly shattered by Old Tortoise's great technique, and his primordial spirit was forced out. Rumble, the Tai Huang seal hanging high in the sky trembled. Under a mighty force, it obliterated the mysterious man's primordial spirit. This was the power of the Tai Huang seal. The mysterious man's primordial spirit directly dissipated in the void. How is this possible? At the moment when the mysterious man's primordial spirit was obliterated, Old Tortoise suddenly felt something. His face became a little ugly. This mysterious man was strange, and it didn't seem to be his real body. Such a method was too incredible. Such a powerful existence was actually not his real body. If this was really the case, then the mysterious man's real body was unimaginably powerful. Old Tortoise couldn't be happy. He vaguely felt that something was wrong. At this time, the battle between the Eastern Emperor's Yan and the ancient demon had already ended. The Eastern Emperor's Yan had been captured by the old man. Although Old Tortoise said that this person was useless to him, the old man still left him for Old Tortoise to deal with. The ancient demon sage was extremely powerful. Even the Eastern Emperor's Yan's sage heavenly tribulation was dispersed. The Eastern Emperor's Yan survived, but his cultivation had been sealed by the ancient demon using a secret technique. At this time, the Eastern Emperor's Yan was like a mortal without cultivation and combat power. Don't kill me. At this time, the Eastern Emperor's Yan no longer had the bearing that an Emperor's Yan should have. His voice was trembling, and he was even more frightened when he saw Old Tortoise walking towards him with a murderous aura. Old Tortoise ignored the Eastern Emperor's Yan. He came in front of the Eastern Emperor's Yan and pressed his hand on the Eastern Emperor's Yan's head to read his memories. 9 Secrets of the Immortal Path. Chapter 2287. The 9 Secrets of the Immortal Path were the secret techniques of the Immortal Path created by the Supreme Tao Ancestor. These secret techniques were renowned throughout the untainted land during ancient times and were known as undefeatable secret techniques. The most maddening thing was that there were no prerequisites for cultivating these secret techniques, and it was not restricted to only cultivators of the Immortal Path. In other words, other living beings could also cultivate the secret techniques of the Immortal Path. After reading the memories of the Eastern Emperor's Yan, the Old Tortoise obtained these 2 secret techniques, Chaos Reversal and Void Reversal. These two secret techniques were practically prepared for battle. While the old tortoise was destroying the mysterious man, a middle-aged man in a white robe suddenly opened his eyes in a valley in another region of the chaotic world. He actually destroyed my demon body. Is that old tortoise really that powerful? The middle-aged man muttered to himself. The old tortoise's guess was correct. The mysterious man who fought with him was not his real body, but a demon body, the corpse of a saint-level demon. The real mastermind behind the scenes was someone else. The old tortoise and the others then returned to the heavenly palace in the sky. The startled ancient sages gradually dispersed after seeing the end of the battle. Soon, peace was restored in this part of the world. While the old tortoise and the others returned to the heavenly palace in the sky, Jiyu Fei and the others were looking for a place to undergo the heavenly tribulation. Jiyu Zhong, the Iron-Blood Daoist, Xiaoqing, and the others had all reached the greater perfection of the saint level and were qualified to attempt the breakthrough. To ensure that nothing would go wrong, Jiyu Fei had to carefully search for a suitable place to undergo the heavenly tribulation. That is, as Jiyu Fei walked into the depths of the chaotic world, a powerful wave of spiritual qi came from the front. This surprised and delighted Jiyu Fei. There must be a treasured place where spiritual qi gathered in front of him. This was the place that Jiyu Fei was looking for. Jiyu Fei walked in the direction of the spiritual qi. Soon, his eyes lit up. There was not a trace of chaotic qi in the void in front of him. He discovered that the area in front of him was brimming with vitality. At the center of this area, there was a spring. This spring was actually spewing out heaven and earth spiritual qi. It's a good place. Just as Jiyu Fei walked into the lively world, a furious roar rang out. Then, a ferocious beast came out from behind a short mountain. It was a white divine tiger, like an ancient divine beast. An extremely powerful killing intent spread out from the divine tiger's body. A ferocious beast with the white tiger divine beast's bloodline running through its veins. Jiyu Fei muttered to himself. He could sense that there was a powerful force within this fierce tiger's body. This was a type of power that originated from its bloodline. Roar! The fierce tiger stared at Jiyu Fei and growled in a low voice, as if it would pounce on Jiyu Fei at any time. Are all remnant species of primal chaos this powerful? Jiyu Fei had to get serious. How could such a spiritual land not have an owner? This fierce tiger was entrenched here, guarding this spiritual land, and was not driven away by anyone. This was enough to show how powerful this fierce tiger was. Powerful remnant species of primal chaos were not weaker than saints. Some of them were even stronger than saints in terms of cultivation and combat ability. This fierce tiger with the white tiger divine beast's bloodline was not simple. It was very powerful and could compete with the saints of the human clan. Even if an ancient saint came, he might not be able to suppress this fierce tiger. Get lost! Jiyu Fei shouted at the fierce tiger. His voice contained a trace of power of the great path. It was so loud that even the deaf could hear it. Even the fierce tiger stopped. Roar! The fierce tiger roared angrily. Its four limbs pushed off the ground and turned into a white divine light, pouncing towards Jiyu Fei fiercely. You refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. Don't blame me then. Jiyu Fei originally wanted to let this fierce tiger go, but now he had no other choice. He directly punched out, causing the void to tremble as it landed on the fierce tiger's forehead. The fierce tiger roared and flew backwards, falling to the ground. For a moment, it couldn't get up. What a tough bone. Jiyu Fei couldn't help but be shocked. Even if there was a mountain in front of him, it would still be smashed by his fist, let alone a mere skull. It could only be said that this fierce tiger was a little different. Its bones were nourished by spiritual energy day and night, transforming even more. The fierce tiger didn't feel good after taking a punch from Jiyu Fei. The powerful fist energy almost exploded its head, causing it to feel dizzy, and a trace of blood seeped out of the corner of its mouth. Human, you've crossed the line. At this moment, a voice rang out in Jiyu Fei's mind. This was a divine communication. The fierce tiger was transmitting its voice to Jiyu Fei. Cross the line, my ass. If you obediently retreat, you can live. Otherwise, death will be your final destination. Ji Fei said as he looked at the ferocious tiger in front of him. The fierce tiger was both shocked and angry. It knew that it was no match for this human. However, if it risked its life, it still had a chance to perish together with this human. However, no one wanted to die. The fierce tiger was the same. If you don't scram now, then you don't need to scram anymore. The chaotic chi around Ji Fei's body was vast and mighty. A powerful wave of saint energy exploded from his body, causing the void around him to tremble. The fierce tiger sensed the change in Ji Fei's body and couldn't help but be shocked. This human actually had the strength to kill it. This made the fierce tiger extremely nervous. The chaotic species pondered for a moment, then turned around and left. It had no choice but to leave the place it had protected for hundreds of years. Seeing that Xiong who had retreated on his own, Ji Fei withdrew the powerful aura from his body. Then, he released the 4 people he had kept in his inner world. This is, Ji Zhong and the rest were incomparably shocked when they saw this scene. What they saw was actually a place full of vitality. In the entire primordial chaos world, there were definitely not many places like this. Master, we'll undergo our tribulation here. Ji Zhong asked. Yeah, let's hurry up and cultivate. Ji Fei nodded. In the center of this place, there was actually a heavenly spring of life. This was something nurtured by heaven and earth, spewing out the purest life essence. With this boundless life essence, there would be no danger of exhaustion during the tribulation. Ji Fei and the rest stayed in this place while Ji Zhong and the rest cultivated. They needed to familiarize themselves with this place before undergoing their tribulation. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 days passed. The fierce tiger that was chased away by Ji Fei would occasionally roam around this place. It wanted to take back its territory, but it didn't dare to. Later on, the ferocious tiger actually invited an old flood dragon to attack this region together. Chapter 2288. The divine spring of life spewed out life essence day and night, nourishing the spiritual land within 100 miles. It was impossible for this place to be ownerless. There was a fierce tiger here, but it was forced away by Ji Fei. In the end, it even invited an old dragon to take back this spiritual land from Ji Fei. This time, Ji Fei was no longer lenient. He directly used the life-slaying technique to kill the 2 chaotic species, then used the mountain and river cauldron to cook a cauldron of dragon tiger soup and shared it with everyone. The tiger was a chaotic species with the bloodline of the ancient divine beast, the white tiger. The dragon was the old dragon that had the bloodline of the true dragon in its veins. Although the old dragon did not transform into a true dragon after reaching the saint level, it was no different from a true dragon, especially since it had the bloodline of a true dragon. This was a true cauldron of dragon tiger soup. When it was being brewed, spiritual light soared into the sky. Waves of divine sounds of the great Tao came from the mountain and river cauldron. This was definitely a peerless divine medicine. Even a saint would be envious of it. Ji Fei's disciples were in luck again. Not only Ji Fei's 3 disciples, but Zhongli Meng, the Iron-Blood Daoist, and the rest of the 12 great bandits were also able to have a share. Even this group of people could not finish a cauldron of dragon tiger soup. In the end, Ji Fei released the soldiers of the Meng family to let them have a taste of the dragon tiger soup. The spiritual energy contained in the dragon tiger soup was obviously beneficial to cultivators. Xiaoqing directly sensed the arrival of the saint's heavenly tribulation. At this time, he could no longer suppress his level. Rumble, the faint sound of thunder came from the sky. This shocked everyone. The saint's heavenly tribulation was about to come. Xiaoqing rushed into the depths of this spiritual land. Is the tribulation coming? Ji Fei was a bit speechless. This dragon tiger soup was really miraculous. The divine splendor in the bodies of the fierce tiger and the old dragon were refined, especially the white tiger bloodline in the fierce tiger and the true dragon bloodline in the old dragon. These 2 bloodlines were the true bloodlines of ancient divine beasts. They contained great Tao fragments that could allow one to comprehend the Tao. Not long after Xiaoqing attracted the saint's heavenly tribulation, the Iron-Blood Daoist also rushed to the other side of the spiritual land. He had a premonition that his heavenly tribulation could descend at any time. Only Kai Long and Jiyu Zhong had yet to sense when their heavenly tribulations would descend. Boom! Not long after, a brilliant bolt of lightning struck down from the sky. It pierced through the heavens and the earth, striking deep into the spiritual land. A destructive aura filled the air. Everyone retreated as far as they could. One should know that this was the tribulation of a sage. It was extremely terrifying. If anyone below the level of a sage were to be affected by the power of this tribulation, there would only be one outcome. Their body and soul would be destroyed. Roar! Just as Xiaoqing triggered the saint's heavenly tribulation, a demonic figure appeared outside the spirit land. It then pulled the demonic bow in its hand and shot an arrow at Xiaoqing. "You're courting death." Jiyu Fei's eyebrows immediately rose when he saw this. He took a step forward and displayed his extreme speed of 8 steps. He then punched the demonic arrow that was shot at Xiaoqing. The demonic arrow shattered under Jiyu Fei's fist. After shooting the arrow, the demonic figure immediately retreated. However, Jiyu Fei would not let the demonic figure retreat so easily. He displayed his extreme speed of 8 steps and caught up with the demonic figure in just a few steps. Without hesitation, Jiyu Fei performed his killer move. The black and white yin-yang swords rushed out of his hands and turned into killing swords that strangled the demonic figure. The demonic figure continuously pulled the demonic bow in its hand and shot demonic arrows with black demonic light, colliding with the yin-yang sword of life and death. However, what shocked the demonic figure was that the demonic arrows he shot could not withstand the 2 yin-yang sword of life and death from his opponent. Swoosh! The black and white divine light instantly intersected and slashed at the demonic figure, cleaving it in 2. However, what surprised Jiyu Fei was that after the demonic figure was cleaved in 2 by his yin-yang sword of life and death, it instantly rejoined itself, as if it had never been struck by the yin-yang sword of life and death. Some of the ancient sages could not help but be shocked at this sight. Demons also dared to appear. A vertical purple mark appeared on Jiyu Fei's forehead. This demonic figure did not seem to have a body of flesh and blood. It seemed to be the shadow of a soul. It was very special. Buzz! The air trembled as a beam of purple divine light shot out from Jiyu Fei's forehead, turning into a sword of the way that slashed towards the demonic shadow. This was one of the 9 secrets of the immortal Tao, the primordial divinity sword of the way. This secret technique was the bane of all souls and primordial spirits. It possessed unfathomable power. At this moment, the demonic figure was shocked. It recognized this secret technique. Swoosh! Without hesitation, the demonic figure tore open the void and tried to escape. However, the primordial soul Tao sword was extremely fast. Although the spectre had already escaped into the primordial chaos, it was still slashed by Jiyu Fei's primordial soul Tao sword and dissipated in the primordial chaos. The demonic bow was lost in the primordial chaos. Jiyu Fei was very powerful, and the battle prowess he displayed shocked everyone. After all, the demonic figure just now was extremely powerful. It was definitely a demon at the sage level. This Jiyu Fei is getting more and more terrifying. The ancient sages from the soaring dragon ancestral planet muttered. The ancient sages close to the Dongfang family were especially worried. The stronger Jiyu Fei grew, the more disadvantageous it would be for the Dongfang family. This was a huge problem. Those who had conflicts with Jiyu Fei on the soaring dragon ancestral planet felt great pressure and danger. Some had already left the primordial chaos world, afraid of meeting Jiyu Fei. However, many ancient sages were not paying attention to Jiyu Fei. Demons kept appearing, which made the ancient sages nervous. The primordial chaos world would no longer be peaceful. But all of this had nothing to do with Jiyu Fei. He stood guard in the spiritual land and stood guard for Xiaoqing. This little guy is finally going through his tribulation. Less than 5 miles away from the spiritual land, there stood an old man on a stone mountain. This old man was an unparalleled existence of the demon race that even the old turtle dared not slight. This old man's status was 1 generation higher than the old turtle's. In the past, this old man had discussed the Tao with the Grand Emperor and called him brother. Xiaoqing's tribulation made Jiyu Fei a little nervous. He had many enemies. If they jumped out at this time and attacked Xiaoqing, the consequences would be dire. One had to know that those who were going through their tribulations hated being disturbed the most. If they were disturbed, they would become crippled at best, and if they were worse, they would die. If anyone dares to attack, I, Gu Fei, will exterminate their entire family. Chapter 2289. Gu Fei was incomparably domineering. He was protecting Xiaoqing and had declared that anyone who dared to make a move against him would be wiped out. Everyone was very fearful of Gu Fei. It should be known that this ruthless person could even kill sages and was comparable to a sage king. As long as he passed the sage king tribulation, he would be a true sage king. No one said anything. Gu Fei's name had long spread throughout the entire chaos world. Even the native remnant species of the primal chaos knew that Gu Fei had appeared in the human race. No one dared to act rashly again. Originally, some Empyrean saints from the celestial realm wanted to stop little Qing from transcending the tribulation. However, after seeing that Gu Fei could actually kill a saint-level devil soul, they all gave up on the idea. Someone's passing the tribulation again. Who is it this time? There were traces of experts everywhere in the chaos world. Some sensed the changes in the spiritual chi of the world, while others triggered the sage heavenly tribulation. The spatial passageway connecting this chaos world had already become unstable. Some people guessed that this was a sign that the chaos world was about to once again disappear into the endless chaos. The chaos world was about to close. As a result, the old antiques who had yet to pass the tribulation began to panic and could no longer sit still. Rumble, in the depths of the spiritual land where Xiaoqing was, the great Tao of the world pressed down, emitting a destructive power that could obliterate everything. This was the might of heaven. Streaks of dragon-shaped lightning descended from the sky and bombarded Xiaoqing. In the end, Xiaoqing actually triggered the Taihuang Great Tao imprint that the ancient Taihuang had left on the heavenly path. This was equivalent to fighting with the Taihuang Great Tao. After the battle, although Xiaoqing was seriously injured and on the verge of death, he had also dispersed the 9 Great Tao imprints that belonged to the Taihuang Great Tao. Roar! Xiaoqing roared at the sky. 9 primordial Tao patterns appeared in his body, frantically devouring the surrounding spiritual qi to replenish the yuan qi that had been consumed during the tribulation. The divine sound of the great Tao rumbled. 9 primordial Tao patterns intertwined on Xiaoqing's body, and the might of a true sacred beast spread out from his body. I've finally become a saint. After narrowly escaping death, when his life force was about to be completely severed, Xiaoqing finally made it through. A powerful life force began to emerge from his body. The wounds on his body were healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. 9 primordial patterns circled around his body, sealing off a part of the void and emitting the divine sound of the great path. These were the patterns that could only be condensed by a saint-level being. Xiaoqing, congratulations. Gu Fei walked over. After that, the others also came over and congratulated Xiaoqing. Becoming a saint. In the past 10 years, there were only a few people who could become a saint, but Xiaoqing had succeeded. Of course, Xiaoqing was able to become a saint not because he was lucky, but because he had made sufficient preparations for the heavenly tribulation. He could have gone through the heavenly tribulation a long time ago, but in order to be absolutely safe, he chose to suppress his cultivation. Suppressing one's cultivation wasn't a bad thing for little Qing. Xiaoqing had followed the old turtle for a long time and received guidance from the old turtle. As the son of the Tai Huang, the old turtle had mastered the most powerful techniques of the dragon clan. Using the supreme great technique to fight against the Tai Huang's great path imprint, Xiaoqing knew both himself and his enemy, which gave him a lot of advantages. Did he succeed? In another region of the chaotic world, high up in the sky, a divine palace floated in the chaotic aura. This divine palace was one of the old turtle's palaces. When Xiaoqing became a saint, the old turtle sensed it and couldn't help but be surprised and happy. The demon clan had another saint, and his disciple had also become a saint. In the next few years, the passages to the chaotic world that appeared in the ancestral lands of the major life forms became more and more unstable. This caused all the cultivators in the chaotic world to feel a sense of pressure. How dare they destroy my demon soul? It's time to settle the score with those people. In a valley in the chaotic world, a demonic figure stood up from a boulder. It was a pale-faced young man with long white hair and a black robe. The young man had a pair of blood-red eyes and demonic aura swirled around him. It was no secret that the demons had entered the chaotic world, but this was the first time that this white-haired demon dared to appear in the chaotic world in broad daylight. Swoosh! The white-haired demon took a step and instantly walked out of the valley, quickly disappearing into the chaotic world. At this time, after several years of preparation, the Iron-Blood Daoist began his tribulation. The powerful tribulation of a saint was wreaking havoc, and the terrifying power of destruction was vast and mighty. Amidst the endless tribulation lightning, the Iron-Blood Daoist held the Phoenix Tribulation and fought against it. The Phoenix Tribulation was a divine tool, and the Iron-Blood Daoist was not a saint. Naturally, he couldn't unleash the true power of the Phoenix Tribulation. However, it was a divine tool after all, and the power it displayed was not weak. It blocked the billions of tribulation lightning outside. 9 Phoenix Tao patterns rushed out from the Phoenix Tribulation and imprinted themselves in the void around the Iron-Blood Daoist, sealing the void in this area. Rumble, the heaven and earth shook, and endless tribulation lightning blasted down from the sky, but they were all blocked by the 9 Phoenix patterns. The Iron-Blood Daoist's goal was simple. He wanted to use the strongest defense, seal the void with the Phoenix patterns, and withstand the saints' tribulation. Out of all the methods of tribulation, this was the safest method. Of course, even the strongest defense was nothing in front of the saints' tribulation. The Iron-Blood Daoist used all his strength to control the Phoenix Tribulation, and the essence chi in his body continuously poured into the Phoenix Tribulation. Buzz! The Phoenix Tribulation shook, and the waves emitted from the 9 primitive patterns became more and more intense. In the end, the Iron-Blood Daoist made it through, and the tribulation dissipated. He became a saint. This was the second human cultivator to successfully pass the tribulation after Xiaoqing. In the past few years, there were many people who passed the tribulation, but only the Iron-Blood Daoist succeeded. He Tian, Xiaoqing, and the Iron-Blood Daoist became saints one after another. He Tian left to find what belonged to him. Xiaoqing and the Iron-Blood Daoist were together with Jiu Fei. 3 saints. Even some large sects probably didn't have such power. Just as the Iron-Blood Daoist became a saint, a demonic shadow appeared at the end of the sky, and then quickly moved towards where Jiu Fei and the others were. Boom! Without any warning, an endless amount of demonic chi suddenly erupted, instantly enveloping the entire world. A demonic aura that caused all living beings to tremble spread out. It's you. Chapter 2290. The demon lord, Ying Tian, was reborn in the ancient Buddhist master's hell path. After that, he killed his way out of the hell path and never appeared again. But now, this peerless demon had actually appeared in the chaotic world. Just in time, I was looking for someone to test my strength on. The Iron-Blood Daoist roared and charged at the demon lord with the Phoenix Tribulation in his hand. The Phoenix Tribulation flickered and 9 primordial Tao patterns appeared. Those were the primordial Tao patterns of the undying phoenix. Each Tao pattern emitted a towering divine fire, turning into a flaming divine phoenix that pounced at the demon lord. Rumble, the powerful sage-level energy shook the heavens and earth. Half of the sky was enveloped by the divine fire of the phoenix. The void was destroyed by the divine fire. The demonic aura dissipated under the scorching heat of the divine fire, revealing the terrifying and powerful figure within the demonic aura. The demon lord did not move. He let the divine fire of the phoenix burn his body, causing the demonic aura around him to dissipate rapidly. However, a shocking scene occurred. Even though the demon lord stood within the divine fire of the phoenix, allowing the divine fire to burn him, he was completely unharmed. Not even his clothes were burned. The divine fire of the phoenix was no ordinary fire. Moreover, the Iron-Blood Daoist had already become a sage. This was a true saint fire. Even a sage would not dare to let it burn their body. The Iron-Blood Daoist was shocked. No one knew the might of the Phoenix Tribulation better than him. But now, the saint artifact couldn't even hurt his opponent's demonic body. Even a saint artifact can't hurt him. Could this demon really be the ancestor of all demons? Some of the ancient sages who were watching the battle from afar couldn't help but feel their hearts palpitate when they saw this scene. Perhaps only the demon ancestor's demonic body couldn't be harmed by a saint artifact. One must know that the demon ancestor was a supreme existence that could stand shoulder to shoulder with an extreme Tao sovereign. The strength of the demon lord's demonic body was unimaginable. Even a saint artifact couldn't hurt him. A mere ant dares to act so impudently before this demon? Scram! The demon lord said coldly. With a wave of his right hand, a surge of demonic aura rushed out from his palm and turned into a demonic dragon that pounced at the Ironblood Daoist. Boom! The demonic dragon was unstoppable. With a single charge, it shattered the fire phoenix formed by the 9 phoenix Tao patterns. Then, it charged towards the Ironblood Daoist. Roar! The Ironblood Daoist roared angrily and activated the Phoenix Tribulation in his hand with all his might. The 9 divine Phoenix runes immediately shone with dazzling divine light. A ball of fire rushed out of the Phoenix Tribulation and enveloped him. A powerful force of the immortal Phoenix erupted from Ironblood Daoist's Phoenix Tribulation. Boom! With a loud bang, the demonic dragon slammed into the layer of fire around the Ironblood Daoist. The Tao patterns formed by countless fire essences dissipated. The Ironblood Daoist was sent flying hundreds of thousands of feet away by the impact of the demonic dragon. The layer of fire around him also collapsed, and the powerful force caused him to vomit blood. So powerful. The Ironblood Daoist's face was pale. He had suffered a great impact. If not for the Phoenix Tribulation blocking most of the power, his body would have been crushed by the demon dragon. He injured a sage with just a single strike. Seeing this result, everyone was dumbfounded. Although the Ironblood Daoist was a new sage, he was still a sage who lived up to his name. This demon defeated a sage with just a casual attack. This kind of battle prowess caused everyone's hearts to palpitate. This demon was much stronger than what they had imagined. Where is the Crown Prince? Do you dare to come out and fight? The archdevil Lord Yingtian swept his gaze across the surroundings. In his eyes, only the Crown Prince, the old tortoise, was his opponent. No one else could stand a chance. Demon, you're too arrogant. An ancient sage barked. Is that so? The archdevil ancestor Yingtian suddenly laughed. In the next moment, he disappeared into the void, followed by a miserable scream from afar. What? Everyone's hearts trembled. They hurriedly looked in the direction of the scream, only to see a figure walking over with a person in his hand. That demon. When the crowd saw the person's face, they couldn't help but be shocked. That person was shrouded in devil chi. Wasn't that the archdevil Lord Yingtian? The person in Yingtian's hand was a demonic beast saint, a peerless expert of the demonic beast race. However, there was no sign of life coming from this demonic beast saint. The archdevil Lord Yingtian had executed a lightning-fast method, killing a powerful demonic beast saint in an instant. Are you really the archdevil Lord Yingtian? At this time, an old voice suddenly sounded. Following that, an old man wearing tattered battle armor and holding a bronze battle spear walked over from the distance. You're actually still alive. The archdevil Lord Yingtian was shocked when he saw the old man. Aren't you still alive as well? The old man stopped in front of the archdevil Lord Yingtian. The archdevil Lord Yingtian didn't say anything else. He immediately made his move. A torrential devil chi swept out, instantly enveloping the entire sky. It was as if night had descended, and the entire world darkened. Within the surging devil chi, countless demonic figures could be vaguely seen. It was as if an endless demonic realm had been opened, and a horde of demons appeared in the world. It was incomparably terrifying. This person is, by this time, Jiyu Fei, and the rest had already retreated far away. The old man held the bronze battle spear in his hand, exuding a shocking demonic chi. His entire person seemed to have turned into a divine sun, emitting a resplendent golden light. The boundless devil chi that swept towards the old man was repelled by the golden astral chi. A demonic beast race divine general that once followed the Grand Emperor. Xiaoqing said. Only he knew the background of this old man who dared to challenge the Archdevil Lord. This old man had an incomparably glorious past. Once followed the Grand Emperor. Jiu Fei and the rest were shocked hearing this. This old man had lived for too long. He was actually someone from the same era as the Grand Emperor. No wonder he dared to challenge the Archdevil Lord. It's a pity that I didn't fight with you in the past. The Archdevil Lord Yingtian stared at the old man in front of him. His expression was extremely solemn. This old man's name in the past was enough to shake a devil domain. If it wasn't for the Grand Emperor, this old man had a high chance of becoming a supreme being of the demonic beast race. If it's difficult, then let's fight. The old man shook the bronze spear in his hand and shouted loudly. A pitilessly powerful battle intent instantly erupted from his skinny body. Fight. Chapter 2291. As the battle erupted, the demonic beast Ancient Divine General took the initiative to attack. He raised the bronze spear in his hand and thrust it at Yingtian. Swoosh. An extremely sharp divine light shot out from the inconspicuous bronze spear, emitting a powerful energy fluctuation. It pierced through the void and pierced through the Archdevil Lord Yingtian's chest in the blink of an eye. A shocking murderous aura burst forth from the thin body, and the surrounding temperature dropped rapidly under the impact of this murderous aura. Buzz. Right at this time, the space in front of the Devil Lord Yingtian suddenly trembled. 9 devil marks rushed out from his body, intertwining into a devilish diagram, blocking Yingtian's attack. That beam of divine light that shot out from the demonic beast Ancient Divine General's spear was swallowed by a devil diagram in front of Yingtian. This devil diagram seemed to be connected to the real endless devil domain, terrifying to the extreme. Kill. The demonic beast Ancient Divine General roared, shaking the heavens and earth. He pressed forward, every step he took causing the world to tremble. So strong. Everyone was dumbfounded. This old man had the great Tao under his feet, as if he could trample through the world at any moment. Like a primordial fiend god, the demonic beast Ancient Divine General might be old, but his battle prowess was still at its peak. His cultivation was enough to shake the world. This was the old tortoise's foundation. Many of the Grand Sovereign's old subordinates were still alive, and they were all super ancient powerhouses. Ever since the collapse of the Great Desolate World, the demonic beast race's so-called patriarchs didn't live up to their names. These old monsters would only listen to one person, the Grand Sovereign. But if one were to ask who else could gather these super ancient powerhouses apart from the Grand Sovereign, it would be the old tortoise. The old tortoise was the Grand Sovereign's son. Such a status was enough to make these super ancient powerhouses listen to him. When the old tortoise made a rallying call, many super ancient powerhouses of the demonic beast race did indeed gather. Boom! The Ancient Divine General of the Monster Clan attacked again. This time, with a loud bang, the entire void in front of him exploded and turned into chaos. Yingtian was sent flying into the primal chaos. Very good. The demon ancestor shouted out loudly. He broke through the chaos chi and rushed out. Stretching out his hand, a black demonic beast appeared in the world and grabbed at the ancient god general of the demon race. 9 demonic patterns appeared on the demonic hand, attracting a powerful demonic power that enveloped the ancient divine general of the demon clan. Large swathes of the void were shattered and obliterated, turning into primal chaos. When the demon ancestor made his move, the heaven and earth collapsed. The destructive aura spread out for 100,000 miles and everyone was shocked to the extreme. This demon was far stronger than they had imagined. The ancient divine general of the demon clan was also extremely powerful. He soared into the sky and pierced the bronze spear in his hand. He broke through the layers of devil chi and collided with the demonic hand. Boom! The two forces exploded in an instant, and the pitch-black demonic hand exploded. The ancient divine general of the demon clan rushed over with an unstoppable force. Swoosh! The demonic beast ancient god lord swept the bronze battle spear in his hand horizontally, smashing it towards the archdevil lord's head. The battle spear streaked across the void, tearing open a several hundred li-long crack between heaven and earth. The archdevil Lord Yingtian swung his fist towards the incoming battle spear. When his fist landed on the spear, A powerful force exploded and sent the battle spear flying away. Following that, a demonic eye appeared on the archdevil Lord Yingtian's forehead. A beam of demonic light shot out from the demonic eye, trying to pierce through the ancient divine general's body. The ancient divine general's body suddenly turned blurry, leaving behind an afterimage on the spot. His real body had already dodged to the side, dodging the attack. The battle between two supreme experts caused everyone's heart to skip a beat. The strength displayed by these two experts was way too terrifying. This wasn't the strength an ordinary sage should possess. This demon hasn't fully recovered yet. At this time, Ji Yufei noticed something. The archdevil Lord Yingtian didn't seem to have recovered to his peak state. Otherwise, this demon would have been able to kill the ancient divine general with a single move. One had to know that even though the ancient divine general of the demon race was strong, he wasn't the supreme being of the demon race. Yingtian's aura, just as the ancient divine general was fighting the archdevil Lord Yingtian, in the skies above another part of the primal chaos world, a voice suddenly rang out from a divine palace. Following that, the divine palace moved, flying towards the source of the demonic aura. The appearance of the archdevil Lord Yingtian forced all the human forces to be cautious. Many ancient sages were attracted to the vicinity, wanting to watch the battle. Demonic and demonic energy collided in this part of the world. Even these ancient sages who had been through countless storms and seen many grand scenes couldn't help but be moved. In the end, the two supreme experts fought their way into the primal chaos world, locked in a stalemate. "Where's Yingtian? This daddy is coming." Just as the two experts were locked in a fierce battle, a voice came from the horizon. Following that, everyone saw a divine palace flying towards the battlefield. "Old tortoise." Hearing this voice, Ji Yufei's eyes lit up. That bastard had finally arrived. Its master, standing beside Ji Yufei, Xiaoqing was overjoyed. The old tortoise had the Tai sovereign seal. In the entire heavenly world, no one dared to provoke him. Even against the archdevil Lord Yingtian, he had the strength to fight. Rumble, the heavens and earth shook. A divine palace flew towards them from afar and hovered in the air. Runes shimmered around the palace. It was obvious that this divine palace was impressive. There were Dao runes arranged by a supreme expert on it. "I wonder if my stinky brat is in there." Ji Yuzhong was extremely excited. He hadn't seen little fatty, Ji Xiaofeng, for many years. Now that the old tortoise was here, he would be able to see his son very soon. However, what Ji Yuzhong didn't know was that his little fatty had already left the divine palace with Yang Ji Yufei. At this time, the old tortoise also noticed the presence of Ji Yufei's group. Ji Yufei led the crowd and soared into the sky. They flew towards the divine palace in the sky and landed in it. Just as Ji Yufei's group arrived at the divine palace, the old tortoise personally led a group of subordinates out from the main hall to welcome Ji Yufei's group. "Old tortoise, you finally showed yourself." The archdevil Lord Yingtian roared in anger. He attacked with all his might. Countless demonic runes weaved in his hands and forced the ancient divine general to retreat. Then, he charged towards the divine palace in the sky. Chapter 2292. Yingtian seemed to have a huge grudge against the old tortoise. The moment the old tortoise arrived, he immediately abandoned the ancient divine general and headed straight for the old tortoise's divine palace. Rumble, monstrous demonic aura enveloped the heavens and earth like a canopy. It enveloped the entire world and surged towards the divine palace in the sky. A terrifying demonic aura appeared between the heavens and earth. The demon lord's power was truly terrifying. Sages with weaker cultivations found it hard to resist this demonic aura and had no choice but to retreat further away. The demonic aura could trigger a cultivator's inner demons and shake their Dao foundation. Even the ancient sages watching from the sidelines couldn't help but be moved. "You demon, your opponent is me." The ancient divine general roared and the rumbling sound waves scattered the demonic clouds. He wielded the bronze spear and charged towards the demon lord with a shocking killing intent. This ancient divine general had once followed the Grand Emperor and lived from the primordial era to the present. His cultivation was so powerful that it made the sages' hearts palpitate. This was an extremely powerful Saint Emperor. Although the Saint Emperors of the demon race couldn't be compared to the human emperor of the human race, they still had the word emperor in their titles. They were supreme experts below the quasi-supremes. Wung. The bronze spear in the ancient divine general's hand vibrated. The 9 great Tao markings on the spear were completely awakened and emitted the might of a Saint Emperor. At this moment, even the ancient sages felt a great pressure. It was as if the bronze spear could shatter the entire world with a light shake. The old divine general's body emitted an invincible aura. What? The demon lord's expression changed. This old demon was much stronger than he had imagined. He had underestimated this old demon. The bronze spear was already behind him in an instant. Since you're so eager to die, I'll fulfill your wish. The demon lord Ying Tian roared. The demonic eye on his forehead opened again and a blood-colored light pierced through the void and shot towards the bronze spear. Wung. The blood-colored demonic light contained the demon lord's Tao markings and knocked the bronze spear to the side. The old divine general felt his hands shake and the bronze spear almost flew out of his hands. This demon, the old divine general, was shocked. His opponent's battle strength had increased by a large margin. Could it be that this demon had been holding back from the beginning? No one knew better than the old godly general how terrifying the demon ancestor was. After all, he had followed the Grand Emperor to conquer the world and flattened many demon domains. He had killed more than one peerless demon ancestor. Die! The archdevil Lord Ying Tian let out a furious roar. Countless rays of blood-red light shot out from the devil eye on his forehead. The rays of blood-red light weaved into a blood-red demonic net that enveloped the heavens and earth as it shot towards the old god general. Open! The old divine general shouted. His white hair danced in the wind. 9 primordial demon marks rushed out of his body and sealed the surroundings. Rumble, the void shook, and the old divine general seemed to be splitting heaven and earth apart. The chaotic chi around him was vast and mighty, and the 9 demonic marks blocked the blood-fiend demonic net that came from all directions. The old divine general wanted to break the demonic net, but the 9 demonic marks also appeared on the demonic net, drawing in a powerful demonic energy that sealed the old divine general. The Grand Emperor is already dead. What's the point of you living? Go to hell. The archdevil Lord Ying Tian said coldly. He descended from the sky, landing on the demonic net. He circulated the demonic arts with all his might, wanting to refine the old divine general to death within the demonic net. Ying Tian, you're courting death. At this time, a loud roar came from the divine palace in the sky. Following that, a figure shrouded in demonic chi appeared between the heavens and earth. The silhouette of a dragon emerged from the figure's body, exuding a majestic aura of a true dragon. Hehe, did I say something wrong? Ying Tian raised his head to look at the figure in the sky and said disdainfully, You dare to say that my father is dead? I'll kill you first. The old tortoise roared in anger. In his heart, the Grand Emperor was a supreme being that could not be blasphemed. He would never die. The old tortoise refused to believe that his father had already fallen. One had to know that the Grand Emperor was the supreme being of the demonic beast race. He was invincible throughout the 9 heavens and 10 earths. He had once suppressed the chaos of the demons, annihilating several demons that were causing trouble. He had killed more than one archdevil lord. Back then, the archdevil Lord Ying Tian was defeated by the Grand Emperor. When this Ying Tian saw that the situation was not in his favor, he disregarded the lives of his clansmen and escaped alone. However, this fellow was truly unlucky. Even though he managed to escape from the Grand Emperor, he met the ancient Buddhist Lord and was nailed to death in the Hell Dao by the ancient Buddhist Lord's Buddhist commandment blade. However, this ferocious devil was not completely dead. After countless years, he came back to life. The archdevil Lord Ying Tian hated the Grand Emperor and the ancient Buddhist Lord. Naturally, he hoped that the Grand Emperor was dead. However, even he did not know if the Grand Emperor was truly dead or not. The great change back then came too suddenly. When the ancient desolate world shattered, all the extreme Daos disappeared. No one knew where these extreme Daos went. Only the ancient sages that survived could guess what had happened. At this time, The old tortoise had already descended from the sky like a dragon soaring through the 9 heavens. A gigantic purple dragon claw grabbed at the archdevil Lord Ying Tian. Swoosh! The devil eye on the forehead of the devil Lord Ying Tian opened and closed. This was the devil eye of annihilation, and it possessed immense might. A blood-colored devil light pierced through the void, clashing against the dragon claw that was descending from the sky. Pfff! With a soft sound, the purple dragon claw was pierced through by the blood-colored demonic light. However, just as the archdevil Lord Ying Tian revealed a smug smile, something flew out from the side and smashed into his head. The impact caused his head to spin, and his vision to darken. He staggered and nearly fell to the ground. A stream of black blood flowed down from his forehead. He was injured. Roar! The archdevil Lord Ying Tian roared into the sky. His eyes were filled with madness. He could clearly see that the thing that injured him was a fist-sized tortoise shell. You! The archdevil Lord Ying Tian pointed at the old tortoise angrily. He was so angry that he almost spat out blood. He had been ambushed by the other party. That purple dragon claw was just a feint. The true vicious attack was that tortoise shell. You? I couldn't tell that your head was actually this tough. It can't even be smashed apart. The old tortoise chuckled. In his hand was the tortoise shell that injured the archdevil Lord Ying Tian. This was a shell that had fallen off from his body. He had been refining it day and night, and it was close to attaining sentience. I'm going to tear you into 1,000,000 pieces. Chapter 2293. Ying Tian, you were defeated by my father in the past. Today, you will be defeated by me as well. The old tortoise was incomparably domineering. He punched out, and 9 primordial demonic runes appeared on his fist as he punched towards the incoming blood-colored demonic light. After shattering the demonic light with a single punch, the old tortoise charged towards Ying Tian. Ying Tian's heart skipped a beat. This son of the Grand Sovereign actually had some traces of the Grand Sovereign's invincible demeanor in the past. This caused him to grit his teeth in anger. That thing of mine has yet to be repaired, and he has the Grand Sovereign seal. The situation is not in my favor. Ying Tian felt that something was amiss. There was no need to rush to kill this bastard. Thinking of this, Ying Tian leaped into the air and unleashed a supreme killing technique. His body turned into countless demonic shadows that covered the sky as they charged towards the old tortoise. It was as if there were countless devils attacking the old tortoise at the same time. Powerful demonic energy erupted, shattering the void and destroying the heaven and earth. The earth sunk. I'm going all out. The old tortoise's heart skipped a beat. Then, he attacked with all his might. The 9 primordial Tao patterns transformed into terrifying murderous divine light. As long as one was enveloped by this divine light, the demonic shadows that were pouncing towards them would disappear in the void and become invisible. Not good. At this time, the old tortoise's heart skipped a beat. As if he had thought of something, he dashed towards where Ying Tian was. The terrifying killing light spread out, causing the demonic shadows to disappear. As expected, the old tortoise discovered that Ying Tian's true body was nowhere to be found. No one knew how Ying Tian left. Roar! The old divine general roared in anger. The 9 primordial Tao runes emitted an unprecedentedly strong demonic light. Finally, he broke through the demonic net and rushed out. Where is Ying Tian? The old divine general's battle intent surged, but no one responded. This bastard is still as cunning as ever. The old tortoise sighed. He knew very well that Ying Tian was afraid of the Grand Sovereign seal in his hand. That was a supreme demonic weapon forged by the Grand Sovereign. Ying Tian's retreat made everyone heave a sigh of relief. But then, they felt uneasy. The Archdevil Lord was too powerful. If they were to encounter him, it would be a disaster. The old tortoise had no choice but to return to the Divine Palace and reunite with Ji Yu Fei. The two of them were sworn brothers who had not seen each other for many years. Now that they were reunited, of course, they had endless things to talk about. Old Tortoise set up a banquet to entertain Ji Yu Fei and the others. While Ji Yu Fei was reunited with Old Tortoise, Yang and the little fatty were in big trouble. After parting ways with Old Tortoise, Yang and Little Fatty went to look for Jiu Fei. When they were rushing to the divine mountain where Jiu Fei was, they accidentally entered a ruin and were trapped by an incomplete formation. Buzz. The ancient cauldron shook, and a divine cauldron floated in the endless array patterns. Two people stood in the cauldron. One was a fairy dressed in white, and the other was a fair and chubby young man. "Grandmother, what do we do now?" Little Fatty Jiu Xiaofeng said anxiously. They had been trapped in this broken formation for 3 days and 3 nights, but they still could not break it. Ancient formations are amazing indeed. Yang could not help but sigh. This damaged formation was most likely a killing formation laid down by an extremely powerful saint. Countless years had passed, and the killing formation had become incomplete. Are we going to be trapped here until we die? Little Fatty was still young after all, and he could not hold it in anymore. Don't be impatient, Yang said. She was trying to think of a way to break the formation. If only Hei Tian was here. With Hei Tian's ability, it should not be difficult to break the formation. However, Hei Tian had already left, and no one knew where he was. Ha, 2 more idiots have fallen for it. Suddenly, a loud laugh was heard from afar. Then, a tall figure came from afar. It was an old man with white hair. The old man came to the side of the broken formation and looked at Yang and Little Fatty. When he saw the cauldron, his eyes suddenly lit up. That is the legendary cauldron of myriad medicines. The old man muttered to himself. Although his voice was not loud, it was enough for Yang and Little Fatty to hear. "Who are you?" Yang asked. This person was a saint, and she had to be careful. He was not a kind person. "Who am I?" "Ha," the old man laughed. "Hurry up and let us go," Little Fatty shouted. This guy must have eaten a bear's heart and a leopard's guts. He actually dared to plot against them. Sooner or later, he would teach this guy a lesson. "Hand over everything you have, and maybe I can let you go." The old man stared at the cauldron with a fiery gaze. He really wanted to rush up, snatch the cauldron, and slowly study it. "Funny. Why don't you hand over everything you have and beg me to let you go?" At this time, Yang voice rang out. "You." The old man was furious. These two really did not know what was good for them. They were already trapped in the killing formation, but they did not seem to be nervous at all. They were still talking and laughing. "Kill." The old man directly activated the killing formation, and the broken formation immediately emitted an even more powerful and terrifying ripple. A terrifying aura of destruction pervaded the air. Rumble. The power of the broken formation crazily surged towards Yang and Little Fatty, who were trapped in the killing formation, wanting to destroy them completely and make them disappear from the world. "Go!" Yang growled, and 18 poison bodies rushed out from the medicine cauldron, pouncing towards the old man outside the formation. These 18 poison bodies were very dangerous. As long as one was pounced on by these 18 poison bodies, there would only be one outcome, and that was the destruction of one's body and soul, leaving nothing behind. The old man seemed to be very shocked. Could this cauldron really be the ancient cauldron of the legends? It could actually condense 18 poison bodies. The old man quickly retreated, dodging the 18 poison bodies that were pouncing towards him. At this time, Yang was using the power of the immortal Tao in her body with all her might. The medicine cauldron was shaking, and the 9 primordial demon patterns were intertwined, causing the power of the great Tao to be boundless. The 18 poison bodies became much more condensed, as if they were about to walk out from the void. Every single poison body gave off pitilessly powerful energy waves. Buzz. The ancient cauldron vibrated, and circles of transparent ripples that could be seen by the naked eye spread out from the ancient cauldron. The ancient cauldron was moving slowly, and Yang wanted to force her way out. The medicine cauldron was not an ordinary saint weapon. Although the damaged saint-level formation was terrifying, it could not hurt Yang and the others. "You want to get out? Dream on." Chapter 2294. Yang and Little Fatty had accidentally barged into an incomplete saint-class formation and met with great danger. An ancient saint who could actually control the incomplete formation appeared and wanted to kill Yang and Little Fatty. Don't waste your energy, you guys won't be able to get out. The old man shouted. At this moment, the old man displayed his terrifying attainments in the art of formations. Controlling the incomplete saint class formation, he gathered boundless saint energy. Dragons appeared out of nowhere, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws, pouncing towards the cauldron of myriad medicines. The aura of the true dragons was vast and mighty, as though there were 18 true dragons appearing in the world. The entire heaven and earth trembled as boundless chaotic chi was triggered. Yang was taken aback. She felt that something was wrong. This old man was extremely strong. Even though it was only an incomplete formation, under the control of this old man, it was able to display such terrifying might. Seeing this, little Fatty's face turned pale, not knowing what to do. If Yang couldn't handle it, he would die as well. Rumble, the 18 chaos dragons collided with the cauldron of myriad medicines. Even though the 18 poison clones were strong, they were still dispersed by the power of the chaos dragons. The cauldron of myriad medicines was forced back to the center of the formation. Boundless formation runes appeared in the air, emitting a power that could cause even saints to feel despair. Yang, who was in the cauldron, was fine. However, little Fatty was crying out in pain. The powerful force caused him to roll around in the cauldron, causing his head to bleed. This is preposterous. Yang was enraged. She took control of the ancient cauldron and countless Tao runes appeared on it. The 18 poison clones appeared once more as a monstrous poison mist gushed out of the cauldron. At this moment, the cauldron of myriad medicines turned into the cauldron of myriad poisons. This ancient cauldron could save people, but it could also kill people. The poison of this cauldron was enough to poison even saints. It's really that cauldron. The old man was shocked. At this moment, the 18 poison clones rushed towards him with a monstrous poison mist. This black poison mist could corrode the formation runes. After coming into contact with this poison mist, the formation runes began to dim. The 18 chaos dragons were instantly devoured by the poison mist and dissipated in the air. This poison mist seemed to be able to devour everything. What a potent poison! The old man was visibly moved. This myriad medicine universe cauldron was truly frightening. Even ancient saints would have to retreat before this cauldron poison, not daring to come into contact with it. Shua! The old man immediately retreated. The broken formation was collapsing, and the formation patterns were being destroyed by the poison of the cauldron. The divine nature was completely lost, and this caused the old man's heart to pound in fear. Although this was an incomplete formation, under his control, he could make up for its deficiencies and bring out its true power. The old man had used this array to kill many people. However, this time, the old man's wishful thinking was wrong. He never thought that Yang would have such an ancient cauldron. Kill! Yang voice rang out from within the poisonous mist. The 18 poisonous clones chased after the old man. Everywhere they passed, the poisonous mist churned. It was as if even the space around them was going to be corroded. With the incomplete formation destroyed, the old man lost his support and immediately turned to flee. Although he was an ancient sage, his skills were all in the field of formations. When he fought against others, he would also use the power of formations. But right now, his opponent had an ancient cauldron that could emit a terrifying poisonous fog. This was his nemesis. Trying to escape. Yang sneered. The speed of the 18 poisonous clones was extremely fast. In a flash, they had already caught up to the old man and pounced towards him. Roar. The old man was terrified to the extreme. He roared and used his escape technique with all his might, wanting to escape. He tore apart the void, wanting to rush into the primal chaos void. However, it was already too late. One of the 18 poison clones fiercely pounced onto the old man's body before disappearing into his body. In the next moment, the old man fell from the sky. The tables had turned so quickly that little Fatty was extremely shocked. Only now did he know how terrifying the poisonous mist emitted from the ancient cauldron was. The old man fell to the ground. His entire body was emitting black smoke. His cultivation base was almost completely devoured by the poisonous clones. His essence was quickly drained and he turned into a dried-up corpse. At this moment, the poisonous mist quickly retreated and entered the myriad medicine heaven and earth cauldron. After doing all this, Yang Er let out a sigh of relief. A trace of blood flowed down from the corner of her mouth. Her face was extremely pale and her body swayed, almost falling to the ground. In order to break the formation, Yang Er did not hesitate to use the killing technique of the myriad medicine heaven and earth cauldron at the risk of damaging her vitality. Only then did she break out of the formation and kill the old man. Grand Teacher, you, little fatty, was shocked to see blood seeping from the corner of Yang Er's mouth. I'm fine, Yang Er said. She directly sat down in the cauldron and used her mysterious technique to recover her vitality. Little fatty did not dare to disturb Yang Er. He obediently stood guard at the side. He knew that Yang Er had paid a great price to break the formation. It would be very difficult for her to recover her vitality in a short period of time. Just as Yang Er broke free, Jiyu Fei and the old tortoise arrived at the Divine Mountain. Xiaoqing's successful tribulation made the old tortoise overjoyed. The Ironblood Daoist's success also greatly increased Jiyu Fei's strength. But at this time, the passageways into the chaotic world became more and more unstable. Many people had already left this side of the world. Once the passageways disappeared, they would be trapped in the chaotic world for 10,000 years. They would only be able to leave after 10,000 years. No one was willing to stay in the chaotic world for 10,000 years. At this time, some major powers also began to leave this part of the chaotic world. More and more people underwent their tribulations. Everyone wanted to become saints, but the reality was very cruel. Countless people underwent their tribulations, but only a few succeeded. Failing the tribulation meant death. No one knew how many people had fallen in this chaotic world in the past decade. However, the temptation of becoming a saint was too great. It was enough to gamble with one's life. At this time, Jiyu Zhong and the Crimson Dragon were making their final preparations. They did not want to miss this opportunity to become saints. At the peak of the Divine Mountain, Jiyu Zhong sat on a large boulder. The aura of the great Tao curled around his body. 9 dazzling golden runes appeared on his body, drawing in the true power of the great Tao. When will the tribulation come? Jiyu Zhong asked himself. He was about to face the terrifying tribulation of the saint. It would be a lie to say that he was not nervous. It should be known that if he failed, his body and soul would be destroyed. On the mountainside, the Crimson Dragon sat under a large tree. He operated his demonic power and carefully sensed the 9 blurry runes that he had condensed. The aura of the great Tao curled around the Crimson Dragon's body. The 9 blurry primordial runes exuded a terrifying divine aura. The Crimson Dragon was a demonic beast. This surprised the old turtle. He did not expect a member of the demonic beast race to undergo the tribulation. If the Crimson Dragon could succeed, then the strength of the demonic beast race would increase greatly. However, not everyone was happy to see a member of the demonic beast race become a saint. This was especially true for the enemies in the heaven realm. In these years, the old turtle had fought everywhere and offended many people. Although the Crimson Dragon was a flood dragon, he was still a true dragon. A trace of true dragon blood flowed in his body. In fact, the fire Chilean Bullon's cultivation had also reached the point where he could break through to the saint level. However, Bullon was not in a hurry. If he was too impatient, he would often fail. Bullon did not want to take the risk. However, Jiyu Zhong and the Crimson Dragon were different. They did not want to miss this opportunity. They would rather take the risk and give it a try. If they failed, they would have nothing to say. Boom! Just as the Crimson Dragon entered a state of cultivation, an extremely powerful heavenly might descended from the sky. At the peak of the Divine Mountain, someone had triggered the tribulation of a saint. In the end, he was still one step faster. The Crimson Dragon shook his head with a wry smile. The person at the peak of the Divine Mountain was his eldest brother, Jiyu Zhong. At this time, a mass of tribulation clouds appeared above the Divine Mountain. Dazzling bolts of lightning suddenly appeared in the clouds. The clouds quickly spread and eventually enveloped the sky within a radius of 1,000 miles. Someone triggered the tribulation of a saint again. The cultivators nearby were startled. When they saw this scene, they were stunned. At the peak of the divine mountain, a man in white was facing the lightning tribulation alone. That's Ji Yufei's disciple, Ji Yuzhong. I didn't think that even his cultivation had reached this level. Someone recognized Ji Yuzhong's background. Ji Yufei's disciple. Someone was incomparably shocked. One should know that Ji Yufei's name had already spread far and wide. That was a reputation that he earned with his fists. No one dared to look down on him. Come. At the peak of the divine mountain, Ji Yuzhong stood up from the boulder. He then raised his head and stared at the vast tribulation clouds in the sky without any fear. On the contrary, Ji Yuzhong's battle intent was like a rainbow. Madness could be seen in his eyes. This was the tribulation of a saint. If he could survive it, he would become a saint monster. The tribulation erupted. Shocking divine light shot down from the sky, all of it blasting towards Ji Yuzhong, who was on the peak. Bang! Ji Yuzhong directly punched out. Dazzling golden light bloomed. The powerful fist energy directly dispersed the terrifying divine light descending from the sky. At the same time, Ji Yuzhong soared into the sky and actually rushed into the tribulation clouds. This scene shocked everyone who saw it. Even the old tortoise was shocked. Ji Yuzhong was the eldest disciple of Ji Yufei. The method of their lineage to pass the tribulation was somewhat different. They treated the tribulation as an opponent in a battle. Only by killing the opponent could they survive. Only by stepping on the tribulation could they become saints. Ji Yuzhong did the same thing as Ji Yufei. He also rushed into the tribulation clouds and fought against the tribulation of a saint. Such an action directly stunned everyone. Chapter 2295. Ji Yuzhong was a martialist, so his sage heavenly tribulation was bound to be terrifying. After all, he had walked the path of attaining the Tao through strength, which was the most difficult path. Since ancient times, there had only been one person who had attained supremacy through strength, the martial ancestor. Apart from the martial ancestor, there had never been another supremacy who had attained supremacy through strength. Both the Buddhist sects and the Daoist sects had body-tempering techniques, but they were nothing compared to the supreme martial path created by the martial ancestor. In the distant sky, Ji Yufei and the old tortoise were watching Ji Yufei, who was in the tribulation clouds. An ancient cauldron the size of a fist was already clasped in Ji Yufei's hand. An extremely weak aura of the supreme great path was also emitted from the old tortoise's glabella. For others, there would only be one outcome if they failed to transcend the tribulation, which was the destruction of their body and soul. However, Ji Yuzhong would survive even if he failed. This was not because his physique was heaven-defying and he could survive the heavenly tribulation, but because he had a good master who happened to possess a supreme great path sacred weapon. Others would not have been so lucky. Even an Empyrean sage protector would not be able to save someone who had failed to transcend the tribulation. This was because only a supreme great path sacred weapon could disperse the sage heavenly tribulation and allow someone who had failed to transcend the tribulation to survive. In the current Great Era, no one could invite an Empyrean sage protector, but a supreme great path sacred weapon that had been passed down had such power. The methods of the ancient families that had produced supremacies in the past were unimaginable. The disciples of these ancient families had a higher chance of becoming sages than ordinary cultivators. Rumble, deafening noises were constantly heard from within the tribulation clouds as huge bolts of lightning the size of mountains flashed in the clouds. The aura of destruction was vast and mighty between heaven and earth. At this moment, Ji Yuzhong was indeed sitting cross-legged within the tribulation clouds, allowing the endless lightning to engulf him. He was using the power of the tribulation lightning to temper his body. Ji Yuzhong made good use of the tribulation lightning that others avoided. The heavenly tribulation lightning could transform one's martial body more thoroughly and make it more powerful. Countless bolts of lightning swam around his body, crackling and exploding. Inside his body, there were also countless little snake-like bolts of lightning darting about. Ji Yuzhong's martial body had already transformed to a powerful degree. His entire body had turned golden, as if it was made of metal essence. 9 dazzling primordial Tao patterns were imprinted on the golden skeleton. These 9 Tao patterns were still blurry and had yet to take shape. Under the tempering of the tribulation lightning, the fragments of the great path that the tribulation lightning brought were captured by Ji Yuzhong. Then, they turned into the divine light of the great path and were absorbed and devoured by the 9 primordial patterns. The 9 golden primordial Tao patterns gradually became clearer. Ji Yuzhong cultivated the metal element martial body. This kind of martial body was extremely strong. Once it was cultivated to the large success realm, it would be much stronger and more terrifying than the indestructible body. Ji Yuzhong's muscles and bones were rumbling. The metal elemental power in his body was surging, transforming into the power of the divine path. This kid is not bad. The old tortoise couldn't help but nod when he saw Ji Yuzhong's transformation within the tribulation clouds. Up until now, Ji Yuzhong was still at ease and hadn't encountered any danger. Of course my disciple is not bad. I don't need you to tell me that. Ji Yufei said with some pride. Ji Yuzhong was his eldest disciple and the disciple he was most proud of. It was only a matter of time before Ji Yuzhong became a saint. He was very confident in Ji Yuzhong. Be happy. My disciple is definitely not worse than your disciple, the old tortoise said disapprovingly. Xiaoqing was really outstanding. He became a saint earlier than Ji Yuzhong. In the old tortoise's opinion, Xiaoqing was even more outstanding than Ji Yuzhong. Is that so? We'll only know after we fight. Ji Yufei glanced at the old tortoise and said, Very well, then let's arrange a time for them to fight. The old tortoise said. Ji Yufei smiled and said, Let's wait until Ji Yuzhong passes the tribulation successfully. All right. The old tortoise nodded. The most important thing now was for Ji Yuzhong to pass the tribulation. If Ji Yuzhong succeeded, there would be 2 martial saints in the human realm. Martial saints were synonymous with absolute power even in the great desolate world. The old tortoise was the son of the Tai Huang Emperor, so he naturally knew many secrets. During the era of the Tai Huang Emperor, the bloodline of the martial ancestor was not severed. The old tortoise once fought with a martial saint for a day and a night without a clear winner. It was still uncertain if Xiaoqing could defeat Ji Yuzhong after passing the tribulation. Time passed. The momentum of Ji Yuzhong's tribulation was too great. It was impossible for it not to startle people. Many ancient saints started to move around in the vicinity. No one dared to attack Ji Yuzhong, especially those ancient saints from the heaven realm. They could feel the aura of the old tortoise. The person undergoing the tribulation actually invited the old tortoise to protect him. Those who knew about the relationship between Ji Yuzhong and Ji Yufei did not dare to do anything. One should know that Ji Yuzhong's master was a ruthless person. Be it the ancient saints from the Soaring Dragon Ancestral Star or the Buzhou Ancestral Star, none of them wanted to provoke this malefic star. Behind Ji Yufei and the old tortoise stood several saints. This was a powerful force that could wipe out an ancestral star. They were not weaker than any of the super forces. At this time, Ji Yuzhong no longer allowed the tribulation lightning to strike him. This was because the great Tao imprints of the experts who achieved the Tao before him had begun to descend. Kill. Without any hesitation, Ji Yuzhong directly fought against the human-shaped lightning that descended from the sky. Yi Futian's imprints of the Great Path turned into human-shaped lightning that attacked Ji Yuzhong relentlessly. Everyone watched this scene nervously. This was the most dangerous moment. Ji Yufei had experienced it before. He knew very well that Ji Yuzhong's body and soul would be destroyed by the human-shaped lightning if he was not careful. Is that father? At this time, on a mountain more than 100,000 miles away, a white-robed woman and a fair and chubby little fatty stood. These 2 people were Yang and little fatty Ji Xiaofeng. It's Ji Yuzhong. Yang frowned. Someone was undergoing tribulation more than 100,000 miles away. The powerful aura actually spread over 100,000 miles, which shocked even her. The little fatty had been away from home for many years, but he was still very familiar with his father's aura. Ji Yuzhong cultivated the metal martial body, which was different from the others. It's him. In another region, In a valley, an extremely shocked voice was heard. "Calm down, don't be distracted." At this time, an incomparably old voice was heard from the valley. Chapter 2296. Jiyu Zhong's heavenly tribulation shook everything. His powerful aura spread across hundreds of thousands of miles. Everyone was shocked to the extreme. This kind of aura was too great. At this time, Jiyu Zhong faced his greatest crisis. The humanoid lightning descended and wanted to kill him. Jiyu Zhong was in a frenzy of killing, and it was unknown how many humanoid lightning bolts he had destroyed. However, when the last humanoid lightning bolt appeared, he was dumbfounded. "How is this possible?" Jiyu Zhong's voice trembled. He was extremely excited. He was extremely familiar with the aura emitted by this humanoid lightning. At this moment, Jiyu Fei, Old Tortoise, and the others who were watching the battle from afar were also dumbfounded. They could not believe that the last humanoid lightning was actually Jiyu Fei. Master's Great Tao Imprint. Jiyu Zhong was still brimming with battle intent, but the last humanoid lightning was actually Jiyu Fei. This caused his heart to tremble. It must be known that this was Jiyu Fei's Great Tao brand that was imprinted by the Heavenly Tao. Not everyone who successfully passed the heavenly tribulation would leave a Great Tao imprint on the Heavenly Tao. Only the strongest people were qualified to be remembered by the Heavenly Tao. "Don't worry." Just when Jiyu Zhong was hesitating, Jiyu Fei's voice suddenly rang in his mind. This made Jiyu Zhong's spirit rise. The fighting spirit emitted from his body became even stronger. Bang! Jiyu Zhong directly struck out with the heaven-covering palm. The golden palm instantly covered the heaven and earth and slapped towards the humanoid lightning. A powerful metal elemental power spread out from the golden palm. Rumble! The golden palm was like a huge mountain that pressed towards the humanoid lightning. On the golden palm, there were 9 blurry golden Tao patterns faintly visible. A powerful saint-level aura spread out from the golden palm. Bang! The void shook. The humanoid lightning in front of Jiyu Zhong also directly struck out with the heaven-covering palm. Endless lightning condensed into a huge hand that met Jiyu Zhong's golden palm. There was no longer any doubt that this humanoid lightning was really evolved from the Great Tao imprint of Jiyu Zhong's master, Jiyu Fei. How interesting! The old tortoise could not help but smile at this scene. He had never heard of such a thing happening since ancient times. A disciple wanted to become a sage, but the opponent he had to defeat was the Taoist body formed by the imprint of his master's great way. This is unbelievable. The ancient sages were also able to tell what was going on, and they were equally shocked. Boom! At this moment, the 2 gigantic palms collided fiercely. A powerful force spread out, causing the void to collapse, forming a series of pitch-black spatial cracks. The huge hand formed by the power of tribulation lightning smashed Jiyu Zhong's heaven-covering hand like a hot knife through butter, and continued to slam down on Jiyu Zhong. The powerful force made Jiyu Zhong almost unable to breathe. Swish! Jiyu Zhong used his extreme speed 8 steps and immediately rushed out from under the large hand, dodging the calamity. That gigantic hand directly pierced through the place where Jiyu Zhong was originally standing. Even the primal chaos chi was forced out. Its might was extremely strong. The human-shaped lightning also used its 8 steps extreme speed to chase after it. Preposterous! Jiyu Zhong felt a great threat. This human-shaped lightning was like Jiyu Fei himself. Wanting to defeat Jiyu Fei at this stage was definitely not an easy task. For Jiyu Zhong, this was a test. The 2 figures moved quickly in the void. The human-shaped lightning could also use the great techniques that Jiyu Fei had mastered, and all kinds of martial arts and battle techniques emerged one after another, causing Jiyu Zhong to constantly vomit blood and retreat. This doesn't look good. The old tortoise saw this scene and muttered to himself. The current situation was very unfavorable for Jiyu Zhong. It should be known that that was the imprint of Jiyu Fei's great way. Even if their cultivation levels were the same, Jiyu Zhong might not be a match for Jiyu Fei. Bang! Jiyu Zhong was once again sent flying, blood spurting out of his mouth. This time, his martial body suffered a great impact, and his chest caved in. Die! He continued to press forward, attacking the humanoid lightning. Ji Yuzhong's invincible self-confidence was not something that could be mastered overnight. Even in the chaotic times where heroes rose up, there were not many people who had such an aura. He was sent flying again and again, but Ji Yuzhong never gave up. He was sent flying again and again. In the end, even he himself could not remember how many times he was sent flying. Buzz. Just when Ji Yuzhong felt that he could not hold on any longer, his body suddenly emitted a dazzling golden light. The 9 primal Tao patterns had finally formed. An extremely powerful metal element power spread out, and the human-shaped lightning was sent flying. The moment the 9 primal Tao patterns formed, a peerless and powerful saint aura erupted from Ji Yuzhong's body. He had already stepped into the saint realm, but the heavenly tribulation was still wreaking havoc. Heaven-covering palm, Ji Yuzhong shouted, and once again used the heaven-covering palm. The 9 primal Tao patterns appeared on his hand, and together with the heaven-covering palm, they pressed forward. This time, the human-shaped lightning retreated. The real 9 primal Tao patterns could destroy everything, and they could even destroy the great Tao imprint. After the 9 primal Tao patterns formed, Ji Yuzhong's disadvantage was reversed. He was already a powerful saint realm creature. As long as the heavenly tribulation dispersed, he would become a true saint. The human-shaped lightning formed by Ji Yufei's great Tao imprint was finally destroyed by Ji Yuzhong, and then returned to the heavenly Tao. Ji Yuzhong succeeded. If the news that 2 martial saints had appeared in the human world were to spread out, the whole human world would be in an uproar. The martial saint was almost a legendary existence. Since the destruction of the untainted land, there had been no trace of such an expert. The tribulation clouds gradually dispersed, and the terrifying destructive aura also dissipated in the void, as if it had never appeared. Master, I succeeded. Ji Yuzhong took a step forward, and instantly arrived in front of Ji Yufei. He said to Ji Yufei with incomparable excitement. Ha ha, Ji Yufei laughed heartily. Ji Yuzhong's success in overcoming the tribulation meant that there was one more martial saint among them. This greatly increased Ji Yufei's power. At this time, besides Ji Yufei, there were also Ji Changkong, Iron-Blood Daoist, and Xiaoqing who successfully became martial saints. If He Tian came back, Ji Yufei would have 4 saints under him. This kind of power was enough to sweep away the ancestral star. Even if he returned to the Ting-Long continent, he would not need to fear anyone. Very good. Ji Yufei patted Ji Yuzhong's shoulder and said. He rarely praised people, but if he did, then that person was definitely a genius in some aspect. Ji Yuzhong was very clear about Ji Yufei's temperament, and he couldn't help but be overjoyed. Chapter 2297. Ji Yuzhong's heavenly tribulation was thrilling. In the end, even the seal that Ji Yufei left on the heavenly path transformed into a human-shaped lightning and fought with Ji Yuzhong. The human-shaped lightning formed by Ji Yufei's seal was extremely terrifying. It was as though Ji Yufei had personally taken action. However, it was just a seal after all. Even so, Ji Yuzhong was in great danger. Ji Yufei almost took action to disperse the heavenly tribulation. He could not just watch Ji Yuzhong die in front of him. However, he did not take action in the end. Ji Yuzhong successfully passed the heavenly tribulation and became a martial sage. Ji Yuzhong was the 2nd martial sage in the world. He became a martial sage through martial arts. This meant that he was destined to be the strongest among the martial sages. It was not a lie to say that a martial sage was invincible among his peers. Congratulations on becoming a martial sage, senior brother. Everyone gathered in the old tortoise's divine palace. The old tortoise used the flesh of many sacred beasts to prepare a table of sumptuous delicacies to celebrate Ji Yuzhong's ascension. Only the old tortoise could be so generous. What's that? The legendary fire phoenix wings? The divine bear paw from the heavenly snow mountain? And the golden dragon carp from the depths of the Wuji spiritual lake? Xiaoqing and the others exclaimed. Even when he became a martial sage, his master did not hold such a banquet to celebrate him. He was a little jealous of Ji Yuzhong. These were the flesh of sacred beasts that the old tortoise collected when he was fighting in the heaven realm. He was very greedy and often ate the flesh of sacred beasts. The fire phoenix wings were not the wings of the real divine beast fire phoenix. They were the wings of a divine bird with the fire phoenix bloodline. However, the divine bear on the heavenly snow mountain was a real pure-blooded divine beast. It was extremely powerful, but it was still killed by the old tortoise's Tai Huang seal. The Wuji spiritual lake was also a forbidden area in the heaven realm. It was difficult for ordinary people to enter. There were powerful creatures living in the spiritual lake. Even a sage-to-be would die if they entered. However, such a dangerous place was leveled by the old tortoise. The reason was simple: he liked to eat the golden dragon carp that only grew in the spiritual lake. This was a grand banquet. Inside the divine palace, everyone celebrated for 4 hours before dispersing. "Master, I want to leave for a while." Ji Fei and his disciple stood at the highest point of the divine palace, overlooking the chaotic land below. Ji Zhong said such words. He had become a saint, and there was one thing he had to do. "You want to?" Ji Fei could guess what Ji Zhong wanted to do. Ji Zhong wanted to return to the Tinglong continent. His roots were in the Tinglong continent. The Ji family in the Sorcererland was his roots in the ancestral star of the Tinglong continent. "Go ahead," Ji Fei said. He used to have roots in the Tinglong continent, but now, he was a bit confused. Where was his roots? Perhaps he was a person without roots. Rebuilding the Supreme Profound Sect had always been Ji Fei's wish. Ever since he met Li Lingfeng, he felt that his wish could be realized. Yes. Ji Zhong nodded. He was a decisive person. Since he had decided to leave, he would leave immediately. He did not want to alarm anyone. "Remember, when you return to the ancestral star of the Tinglong continent, don't have any scruples. Kill those who deserve it," Ji Fei said as Ji Zhong turned around. "Disciple will remember." Ji Zhong bowed to Ji Fei, then turned around and left. His long black hair fluttered in the wind. At this moment, he felt his blood boiling. The ancestral star of the Tinglong continent was definitely not peaceful right now. After Ji Zhong left, Ji Fei stood at the peak of the divine palace. A cool breeze caressed his face, and his hair fluttered behind him. After a while, he came back to his senses. That kid is gone. Just as Ji Fei was about to jump down from the top of the divine palace, a voice suddenly rang out. Ji Fei turned around and saw that the old tortoise had already arrived at the top of the divine palace, holding a jar of celestial wine in one hand and 2 jade bowls in the other. He walked towards Ji Fei. "Come, have a few bowls with me." The old tortoise seemed to have something on his mind. "What's wrong? You're pretending to be profound now." Ji Fei had never seen this side of the old tortoise. Ever since he met the old tortoise, it had been unreliable and always acted as if it was a game. Sigh. The old tortoise came to Ji Fei's side and sat down. Then, he placed the jade bowls next to him, opened the seal of the jar, and filled the 2 jade bowls to the brim. A rich aroma of wine immediately spread out. This was the fallen immortal, the old tortoise's treasured immortal brew. It was the immortal brew that he had stolen from an old winesage when he was roaming the untainted land. Because of this, the old winesage had chased the old tortoise for 100,000 miles and almost caught him. The fallen immortal, even gods would faint from the smell. "This is the best immortal brew I've ever tasted." The old tortoise picked up the jade bowl and drained it in one gulp. At this time, Ji Fei also sat down, picked up the jade bowl, and drained the immortal brew in one gulp. "Chaos is coming. I'm afraid that these days of drinking and singing are gone forever." The old tortoise sighed. Ji Fei couldn't help but be startled. Then, he said, "Why do you say that? Could it be that someone with your abilities can still do anything to you?" "Hehe, although I didn't experience the calamity back then, I can guess that even an extreme grade supreme isn't immortal. There's a chance that they could fall." The old tortoise was the Grand Emperor's son, so he naturally knew many secrets. What was the great chaos back then? Ji Fei couldn't help but be shaken. It was such a terrifying calamity that even an extreme grade supreme couldn't escape. It was truly unbelievable. "I'm not too sure either. Back then, I was captured by one of my father's enemies and was trapped in an ultimate formation. I managed to escape the calamity. When he was captured, the great chaos had yet to erupt. However, there were already signs that the Grand Emperor was already preparing to deal with it. Perhaps it has something to do with the demons. The old tortoise thought for a moment and then said, "It has something to do with the demons." Ji Yufei was startled. Then, this time, it has something to do with the demons as well. The chaos on the soaring dragon ancestral star seemed to be caused by the demons as well. The archdevil ancestor Ying Tian was wreaking havoc everywhere, and there was also the phantom demon that hadn't been in trouble recently. My father once told me that the demons are the source of all chaos. The old tortoise continued to pour himself a cup of wine. He revealed many secrets, and this was the first time he had told anyone about them. The more Ji Yufei listened, the more apprehensive he became. The Grand Emperor said that the demons were the source of all chaos. What did that mean? Could it be that everything was caused by the demons? Chapter 2298. The old tortoise told Ji Yufei many secrets on the roof of the divine palace. After that, the two returned to their respective residences in the divine palace. Ji Yufei was shocked. He learned something shocking from the old tortoise. The destruction of the ancient world might have something to do with the demons. The demons might really be the source of chaos. Ji Yufei did not think too much about it. He sat on the jade bed and circulated his mystic art. Soon, he entered an ethereal state of cultivation. He was still half a step away from the Sage King realm. He could feel that his cultivation was about to break through and become a powerful Sage King. The others were also cultivating hard. This might be their last chance. The spatial passageway to the chaotic world had become unstable. No one knew how long it would take for the passageway to close. However, once the passageway to the chaotic world was closed, everyone would be trapped in the chaotic world for 10,000 years. Especially those great perfection quasi-saints. They knew that time waits for no man. If they missed this chance, they might never have the chance to become a sage again. Rumble. In a certain region of the chaotic world, the heavens and earth shook. A chaotic light pillar was constantly dissipating and the chaotic spiritual light kept fusing with the surrounding void. What's going on? Is the chaotic passageway about to close? Many figures appeared around the chaotic passageway. From time to time, someone would soar into the sky and enter the chaotic passageway, disappearing into the chaotic spiritual light. The Kunlun ancestral star's passageway is about to close. Someone spread the news. Kunlun ancestral star. At this time, Ji Yufei also received the news that the passageway to the chaotic world was about to close. This made Ji Yufei recall some of the things that happened in Kunlun ancestral star. He was just a passerby to Kunlun ancestral star. Kunlun is not ordinary. The old tortoise said in the divine palace. Among the 5 great ancestral stars of the human realm, the most chaotic one was the soaring dragon star. The oldest one was Kunlun. Legend has it that Kunlun ancestral star had existed since ancient times. I've been to that ancestral star before. There are no cultivators there anymore. Ji Yufei said. When things reach an extreme, they move in the opposite direction. Could it be that even the ancestral star of Kunlun will die? Old Tortoise could not help but mutter to himself after hearing Ji Yufei's words. This was an ancestral planet that had existed since the mythological era. Let's go take a look. Ji Yufei said and stood up. It's good to go and take a look. Old Tortoise said. The closing of the primal chaos passageway was no small matter. Perhaps something could be seen. Ji Yufei then left the divine palace. The old tortoise did not go with him. He wanted to stay here and guard the divine palace. One must know that there were many people who had their eyes on him. However, although old tortoise did not go, Xiaoqing left the divine palace with Ji Yufei. The Iron Blood Daoist, Ji Changkong, and the others all wanted to go, but Ji Yufei didn't allow it. One had to know that the Crimson Dragon, Zhongli Meng, and the others were all cultivating, and the Iron Blood Daoist and the others had to protect them. Ji Yufei only brought Xiaoqing and headed towards the primal chaos passageway that led to the ancestral star of Kunlun. Before Ji Yufei and Xiaoqing left, many ancient saints had already appeared near the primal chaos passageway. These ancient saints were alarmed. What's going on? Is this a sign that the spatial passageway is closing? An ancient saint muttered. There seems to be something strange over at the ancestral star of Kunlun. An ancient saint sensed a subtle fluctuation coming from the other side of the primal chaos passageway. At this time, the cultivators who entered the chaotic world from the ancestral star of Kunlun began to retreat. They had no choice but to leave. Once the spatial passageway closed, they would not be able to leave. Swish! A fiery light came from afar. A powerful fire elemental energy was surging. Within the fiery light was a black-bearded daoist in a daoist robe. Grand completion quasi-saint. Those ancient saints who were closely observing the surroundings of the primal chaos passageway were shocked when they saw someone arriving. This was an expert who had 1 foot in the sage realm. On the primal chaos passageway, the primal chaos spiritual light was constantly dissipating. Without any hesitation, that middle-aged daoist entered the primal chaos passageway and disappeared within the spiritual light. Such a character is actually willing to retreat. Everyone was surprised. One must know that this was a grand completion quasi-saint. He had 1 foot in the sage realm. If he were to leave just like that, it would mean that he had lost his only chance to become a sage. When that middle-aged daoist entered the primal chaos passageway, Jiu Fei and Xiaoqing happened to arrive and saw this scene. There's actually such a character in the ancestral star of Kunlun. Jiu Fei was shocked. Back when he was in the ancestral star of Kunlun, he did not notice such an existence. Where did these people hide? Could it be that there's a heavenly grotto heaven in the ancestral star of Kunlun? There weren't many cultivators from the ancestral star of Kunlun. After an hour, only 5 cultivators entered the primal chaos passageway and left the chaotic world. Has Kunlun truly declined completely? An ancient city said something like this. Rumble, the primal chaos passageway was shaking. The chaotic energy that formed the passageway was constantly turning into chaotic spiritual light and dissipating in the void. It seemed like the passageway would collapse at any time. What's going on? Something doesn't seem right. Jiu Fei stared at the primal chaos passageway with a solemn expression. Big brother, what should we do? Xiaoqing also felt uneasy. Let's wait and see. Jiu Fei said. He was very cautious and was not in a hurry to make a move. He knew that those ancient sages in the dark should have also sensed the aura coming from the other end of the primal chaos passageway. As expected, some of the ancient sages couldn't sit still anymore. Swish! A figure radiating golden light appeared in front of the primal chaos passageway. This was an expert that cultivated metal elemental immortal force. Golden light rose from his body, making him look like a dazzling golden fireball. Ancient sage. Jiu Fei couldn't help but be shocked when he saw that person. That ancient sage hesitated for a moment, then walked into the primal chaos passageway and disappeared inside. Everyone was waiting. There was no one who could kill someone as powerful as the ancient saints without anyone noticing. Only a supreme being could accomplish such a feat soon. A furious roar came from the primal chaos passageway. The voice was filled with unwillingness. Soon, the spatial communication channel calmed down. Everyone was shocked to the extreme. That was an ancient sage. No one thought that even an ancient sage would fall in the primal chaos passageway. For a moment, no one dared to enter the primal chaos passageway anymore. At this time, even the cultivators from the ancestral star of Kunlun didn't dare to enter the primal chaos passageway anymore. A faint smell of blood came from the primal chaos passageway. Chapter 2299. The fact that the chaos passageway leading to the Kunlun ancestral star was about to close had shocked everyone. Many ancient saints had personally come to see what was going on. However, an Empyrean saint had actually perished after entering the primordial chaos passageway. This left the super old-timers completely shaken. What was happening on the other side of the primal chaos passageway? Even an ancient saint was about to fall. Could it be that the ancient devils had come out? The ancestral star of Kunlun was filled with countless legends. It was an ancestral land that existed since the ancient mythological era. It was once a glorious place where a celestial ancestor, Fushi, walked out. The other Supremes had once manifested their Dharma bodies in Kunlun and passed down their teachings. This was enough to prove that Kunlun ancestral star was extraordinary. It was a place where the Supreme Beings had left their footprints, and there were countless secrets that were unknown to the world. Did something happen in the Kunlun realm? An ancient sage said. Could it be that a peerless demon lord has appeared? Otherwise, how could even an ancient sage fall? Someone said. Only a peerless demon comparable to a Renhuang could kill an ancient saint. It should be noted that every ancient saint had lived for countless years, and ordinary saints could not compare. Some ancient sages were even sage kings or sage emperors. They were all extremely powerful. Even ancient saints were about to fall, so no one dared to act blindly without thinking. There was definitely a great vicious being on the other side of the primal chaos passage, an unknown exceptional expert blocking that place. Even Ji Fei was shocked. He could feel a powerful devilish aura coming from the other end of the chaos tunnel. That aura was no weaker than the archdevil Lord Ying Tian. It really is the birth of the demon ancestor. Ji Fei muttered to himself. Demon ancestor, it can't be. Xiaoqing was extremely shocked. The demon ancestor was the legendary unparalleled demon. He had followed Old Tortoise for so long, so he naturally knew what kind of existence the demon ancestor was. The birth of the demon ancestor was no small matter. Rumble, the primal chaos passageway was shaking. The primal chaos divine light was like a rain of primal chaos light, spreading out from the top of the primal chaos passageway. Could it be that this chaotic passageway that connects the three realms and the six Daos was actually constructed by humans? Ji Fei was incomparably shocked. If that was really the case, then it would really be a shocking amount of money. At this time, none of the cultivators from the Kunlun ancestral star dared to enter the chaos passageway. Knowing that they would die, who would dare to enter it? Those are cultivators from Kunlun Mountain. Ji Fei sensed a familiar aura from a few Kunlun cultivators. Back then, he had come into contact with the cultivators from the Kunlun Immortal Mountain on the ancestral planet. I'll go take a look. Ji Fei looked at the chaotic channel ahead and pondered for a moment before saying, What? Xiaoqing was shocked. Big brother, isn't this too risky? If there really is a demon ancestor at the other end of the passageway, you will be in danger too. Xiaoqing disapproved of Ji Fei taking the risk because it was not worth it. In his opinion, they should not interfere in the matters of Kunlun ancestral star if they could. It doesn't matter. So what if it's the demon ancestor? Although I can't stand shoulder to shoulder with an expert of this level, I still have the ability to survive under the hands of the demon ancestor. Ji Fei was very confident. The trump cards in his hands were enough for him to face the demon ancestor. I'll go with you. Xiaoqing said. No, you stay behind. If you're by my side, you'll only distract me. Ji Fei said. Xiaoqing wanted to say more. However, Ji Fei had already taken a step forward and instantly appeared in the primal chaos passageway. His speed was so fast that even little Qing was taken aback. Who is that? How dare he barge into Kunlun? Those ancient sages were shocked to see Ji Fei appear in the chaotic channel. He clearly knew that even ancient sages had fallen in there, yet he still dared to go forward. Could this person's cultivation be even stronger than ancient sages? It's him. Some of the ancient sages recognized Ji Fei, and they were astonished. I didn't expect it to be him. Some ancient sages muttered. With Ji Fei making a move, there would be a good show to watch. This fella was a peerless expert who dared to kill even ancient sages. Ji Fei's fame was earned through fighting. None of the ancient sages dared to look down on him. While those ancient sages were still in shock, Ji Fei's figure had already disappeared into the chaotic channel. Everyone stared at the chaotic channel, especially Xiaoqing. He was breaking out in cold sweat for Ji Fei. One must know that an ancient sage had already fallen in there. Ji Fei sped through the chaotic channel. Very soon, he saw something floating in front of him. When he got closer, he saw that it was actually some broken corpses. The cultivators of Kunlun ancestral star who had entered the chaotic channel had really met with a calamity. Even their fleshly bodies were smashed into pieces. I'd like to see who this divine being is. While speaking, a figure suddenly rushed out from Ji Yufei's body. It was another Ji Yufei. This Ji Yufei was the immortal war slave that Ji Yufei had obtained. The immortal war slave was incomparably powerful. It was originally the trump card of the Ji clan's patriarch, but Ji Yufei had snatched it away and turned it into his war slave. The immortal war slave turned into a shadow and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Ji Yufei was very careful. The immortal war slave's battle prowess was incomparably powerful, not any weaker than an ancient sage. More importantly, the immortal war slave had an immortal divinity, making it unkillable. Rumble. Just as the immortal war slave was about to reach the exit of the chaotic channel, a sudden rumbling sound came from the front. A huge black hand slammed into the passage from the outside. This is, Ji Yufei's immortal war slave was taken aback. He directly pushed his palm forward, and the power of the chaotic secret art surged forward. The black hand was actually reversed and slammed towards the exit of the chaotic channel. What? An exclamation came from the exit of the chaotic channel. Boom! With a loud bang, the black hand directly smashed the exit of the chaotic channel, causing a powerful demonic energy to encircle it. There's really an expert from the demons guarding outside. Ji Yufei's immortal war slave muttered to himself. 9 immortal runes appeared on the immortal war slave's body, and an extremely powerful sage aura erupted from the immortal war slave. Another ancient sage. A divine sense fluctuation came from outside the chaotic channel. Kill. An old voice sounded from outside the chaotic passageway. Then, a dark light pierced through the sky, broke through the void, and pierced the indestructible battle slave's forehead. The big shot from the demons had made his move. The immortal war slave directly punched out. The black light actually pierced through his fist, but there was no splattering of blood. The hole on the immortal war slave's fist was rapidly healing. Hey! That old man seemed to be surprised. To think that he couldn't kill that ancient sage with a single move. One must know that the ancient sage from before couldn't even take a single move from him. It's impolite not to reciprocate. Watch this. Ji Yufei's indestructible war slave bellowed. 9 immortal Tao runes transformed into a beam of divine light that shot out from his body. They transformed into 9 peerless divine swords that pierced towards the demons outside the chaotic passageway. You've got guts. An old voice rang out. The old devil outside the chaotic channel was taken aback. To think that the person in the chaotic channel didn't retreat, and was even attacking him. A pitch-black demonic hand appeared once again, emanating boundless demonic aura. It grabbed at the 9 peerless divine swords that had pierced through the air. Clang! Under the demonic hand's grasp, the 9 peerless divine swords were immediately crushed, and the 9 divine runes of the immortal Tao were directly obliterated by the demonic power. So strong. After exchanging just 2 moves, Ji Yufei's immortal war slave already knew that his opponent was incomparably strong. He wasn't someone that ordinary demons could compare to. This caused Ji Yufei's immortal war slave to feel an immense pressure. However, as a martial artist, Ji Yufei would only advance bravely. Nothing could stop his invincible heart. He directly killed his way out of the chaotic channel. What? Just as Ji Yufei's indestructible war slave rushed out of the primal chaos passageway, he saw a scene that shocked him to the point where he couldn't be more shocked. Before the chaotic channel, blood flowed like a river. On the ground, there was a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. The essence blood of countless living beings had converged to form a sea of blood. A series of scarlet devil runes could be faintly seen. There was actually a great devil outside the entrance of the chaotic channel, using an endless amount of blood to form a grand formation. Could this be the legendary blood devil? When Ji Yufei's immortal war slave saw this scene, he was truly shocked by the demon's methods. He couldn't speak for a long time. How many living beings had to be killed for the blood to converge into a sea of blood? Voom! The moment Ji Yufei's indestructible war slave rushed out of the primal chaos passageway, the demon race array in front of the primal chaos passageway immediately activated. One after another, blood-colored shadows stood up from the demonic formation, as if they had turned into bloody fiends, pouncing towards Ji Yufei's immortal war slave. Kill. Without any hesitation, Ji Yufei didn't hold back against the demons who had slaughtered countless living beings. He attacked with all his might. Voom! The space before his forehead trembled. A beam of sword light shot out from between his brows, turning into a divine sword of the great Tao that slashed towards the blood-colored shadows that were pouncing towards him. Swoosh! The sword light flashed, and the countless blood shadows that were pouncing towards Ji Yufei were all cut in half by his sword. They then dissipated into the void as if they had never been there. Interesting. You are actually just a tool for killing. An old voice sounded. A blood-colored shadow loomed within the blood fiend demonic formation. It seemed to have merged with the surrounding void, making it impossible to guard against. That old demon had seen through Ji Yufei's immortal war slave. Rumble. The blood fiend demonic formation was operating. Endless blood-colored light rushed out from the demonic formation, illuminating the entire space in a bloody color. Chapter 2300. Sure enough, there was a problem with the passageway leading to Kunlun. There was a supreme demon guarding the passageway, waiting for the cultivators who came out to jump into the demonic formation. The ancient saint who died before was most likely refined to death by this demonic formation. Rumble, blood-colored light shot into the sky, dyeing the entire world in the color of blood. This was simply an endless sea of blood. Blood-colored demonic chi was vast and mighty, and one could faintly see white bones floating in the sea of blood. This was not something that truly existed. It was just an illusion, but it was still shocking enough. This demonic formation was truly terrifying. Roar. At this time, blood-colored dragons rushed out of the sea of blood, pouncing towards Ji Yufei above. To be more precise, these were Ji Yufei's undying war slaves. These killing tools, which were famous in the ancestral Myrtle Star, fell into the hands of Ji Yufei. Seal. Ji Yufei's undying war slave stretched out his hand and pressed downwards. 9 divine runes of the immortal Tao appeared in his palm and rushed out, drawing upon the power of the great Tao, suppressing downwards. Rumble. The power of the great Tao shook the heavens and the earth. The 9 immortal runes turned into a supreme Tao diagram that enveloped the entire sea of blood. The dragons that rushed out of the sea of blood were all blocked by the Tao diagram. Buzz. The Tao diagram that was formed from the 9 runes trembled. An extremely powerful saint-level power descended from the Tao diagram, causing the blood-colored dragons to explode in the void. Not bad. You are much stronger than that guy just now. An ancient voice rang out. The blood-colored demonic figure appeared in the endless bloodlight, emitting a demonic aura that made even Ji Yufei's heart palpitate. Without a doubt, this demon was definitely a demon ancestor. Ji Yufei realized that he was in big trouble. A demon ancestor was not something ordinary demons could compare to. This was a supreme existence among demons. Swish. He soared into the sky, wanting to enter the chaotic passageway and leave this demonic formation. He didn't want to fight a demon ancestor for no reason. It wasn't worth it. Hehe, you want to leave? Too late. Just as Ji Yufei's undead war slave broke through the layers of bloody light and rapidly approached the entrance of the primal chaos passageway, he suddenly felt the world spin. The entrance of the primal chaos passageway disappeared. To his astonishment, he discovered that he had actually returned to the boundless sea of blood formed by the power of the blood fiend demonic formation. If you want to fight, then let's fight. Ji Yufei knew that the other party had already sealed up this part of the world, trapping him inside. Unless he could break this demonic formation, it would be impossible for him to leave this damned place. It was very simple to break the formation, and that was to kill that old devil. However, knowing the method to break the formation was one thing, wanting to kill that old demon was not an easy task. One must know that this was a demon ancestor. The feeling this archdevil lord gave Ji Yufei was that he was extremely powerful, not the slightest bit weaker than the archdevil Lord Ying Tian. A great battle erupted. Ji Yufei controlled his undead war slave and executed all sorts of immortal killing techniques, attacking the figure in the sea of blood. Immortal Tao divine runes appeared between his hands. Powerful immortal Tao energy spread out, repelling the demonic chi around Ji Yufei's undead war slave. Bang! A blood-colored fist punched out from the sea of blood formed by the demonic chi. On the fist, blood-colored demonic runes coiled around it, drawing in a supreme demonic energy. Gu Fei's undead war slave was directly sent flying by this blood-colored fist. However, the undead war slave was said to be undying, possessing undying divinity. Gu Fei's undead war slave instantly rushed back from afar, continuing to attack. Immortal Dao divine runes rushed out from Gu Fei's undead war slave, imprinting themselves into the void. Then, they exploded, causing a large amount of demonic chi to dissipate. An old demon covered in blood-colored light fell out of the void. Good lad, you can actually sense where this demon's true body is. How did you do it? The blood fiend demon ancestor was somewhat surprised. One had to know that no one had ever been able to force his true body out of the formation. Not even once. This old demon was very curious as to how this human cultivator knew where his true body was. H, why are you spouting so much nonsense? Gu Fei's undead war slave pressed towards the blood fiend demon ancestor, brimming with battle intent. He had already viewed this old demon as the strongest opponent he had ever met since he started cultivating. This battle body is not bad. The blood fiend demon ancestor was shocked to see how powerful the undead war slave was. Someone had actually refined such a terrifying killing tool. If he could obtain this battle body and study the Dao runes on it, he might be able to create countless such killing tools. By then, it would only be a matter of time for the demons to unify the 3 realms and 6 Daos. At this thought, the blood fiend demon ancestor's blood-colored eyes immediately lit up. Unifying the 3 realms and 6 Daos had always been the ultimate goal of the demons. Rumble, the formation shook. The blood fiend demon ancestor activated the entire formation's power. Endless blood-colored light interweaved, forming a blood-colored net that enveloped Gu Fei's undead war slave. Swish. The blood-colored net was extremely fast. In an instant, it trapped Gu Fei's undead war slave, and the interweaved blood-colored demonic light pierced into its flesh. The blood-colored demonic light was like the edge of a peerless demonic blade. It directly slashed across the undead war slave's body, cutting it into thousands of pieces. However, a divine light of the immortal Dao flashed, and Gu Fei's undead war slave recovered. The blood marks on its body disappeared, and its body also emitted a mighty wave. Immortal battle body. The old demon was obviously shocked to see this scene. The opponent's battle body was very unusual. It was not something that an ordinary sage could refine. Could it be? The blood fiend demon ancestor seemed to think of something, and his face became somewhat gloomy. While the old demon was distracted, Gu Fei's undead war slave had already reached him. A purple divine light rushed out from the undead war slave's forehead, turning into a divine sword of the great Dao, and slashed at the old demon. The old demon was shocked to see Gu Fei's undead war slave use this immortal Dao secret technique. This was the supreme immortal technique of the Dao sect, a supreme divine ability created by the Dao ancestor. The mighty wave of power from the divine sword of the great Dao made the old demon's heart palpitate, and he immediately retreated. However, the divine sword of the great Dao followed him like a shadow, chasing after the old demon, forcing him to constantly dodge within the demonic formation, not daring to let the divine sword of the great Dao get close to him. Chapter 2301. It was only after Gu Fei had taken control of the undying war slave that he realized how powerful and terrifying this killing tool was. This battle form could use all the techniques of the person who had taken control of it. Of course, this battle form could only use the techniques of the immortal path. Perhaps the person who had refined this undying war slave was a supreme cultivator of the immortal path. Gu Fei's undying war slave used one of the 9 secrets of the immortal path, the primordial spirit sword of the Wei secret technique, and successfully injured the blood fiend demon ancestor. However, he knew that the blood fiend demon ancestor was not so easy to deal with. Roar. The blood fiend demon ancestor roared in anger. He could not believe that he had been injured. Moreover, this was a wound caused by a divine sword of the great path. The wound was difficult to heal, and black demonic blood flowed out. How dare you injure my demonic body? I'll kill you. In his rage, The Blood Fiend demon ancestor attacked Gu Fei's undying war slave. Endless demonic chi surged, and the entire demonic formation's power was directed to his hands by the old demon. Bang! The Blood Fiend demon punched out, and the power of the demonic path exploded. The world shook, and a pitch-black spatial fissure appeared in the void. Endless demonic patterns went to seal Gu Fei's undying war slave. Return to truth. Gu Fei's undying war slave used another secret technique of the immortal path. A mysterious power of the great path spread out from his body. Wherever this power went, large swathes of demonic chi were melted away. All the spiritual chi of the world seemed to have been reduced to its most primitive state. This was the terror of the return to truth secret technique. It could melt away any power of the great path. What? The Blood Fiend demon ancestor could feel the power of his punch rapidly draining away. The demonic chi was melted away in the void. Reverse chaos. Just as the Blood Fiend demon ancestor was in extreme shock, Gu Fei's undying war slave used another secret technique. The power of reverse chaos diverted the Blood Fiend demon ancestor's punch, causing it to turn back and hit him. Roar. This time, the Blood Fiend demonic ancestor was truly moved. He roared again and again, desperately urging his Blood Fiend demonic power. The fist that was about to hit him finally stopped before it hit him. You are the successor of the Tao Father. The Blood Fiend demonic ancestor roared furiously. Back then, he had a deep grudge with the Tao ancestor's bloodline. The reason why he was where he was today was directly related to the Tao ancestor. Gu Fei's undying war slave did not speak, but his aura instantly soared to a level that made the Blood Fiend evil ancestor's heart palpitate. Bang! Gu Fei's undying war slave immediately used the supreme killing technique of the immortal Tao, heavenly transformation hand. 9 primordial Tao patterns interweaved to form a great Tao hand that pressed down on the Blood Fiend demon ancestor. Rumble, endless baleful blood demonic chi was melted away. This was a supreme technique of the immortal Tao, known to be able to melt away even the heaven and earth. The void below the giant hand was being destroyed soundlessly. Bang! The giant hand descended, and the Blood Fiend demon ancestor was smacked down from the sky. His baleful blood demonic chi dissipated, and a small part of his body was destroyed by the heavenly transformation hand. Another of the 9 secrets of the immortal Tao, the Blood Fiend demon ancestor was both shocked and furious. He had suffered greatly from the 9 secrets of the immortal Tao. Not long after he broke free, he encountered Gu Fei's undying war slave, who had mastered the 9 secrets of the immortal Tao. The war slave used the heavenly transformation secret art to raise its battle prowess to the limit. It was then that Gu Fei unleashed the true power of the undying war slave. The war slave's battle prowess was no weaker than the immortal sovereign's Tao body. Break. Gu Fei controlled the war slave to launch a heavenly transformation hand into the sky. Endless baleful blood demonic patterns were destroyed by the heavenly transformation hand, and a corner of the Blood Fiend formation was broken. The old demon couldn't help but be shocked at the sight. How could this guy break his formation? Although it was hard to believe, it was the truth. Gu Fei didn't hesitate and rushed out of the Blood Fiend formation. Damn it! The Blood Fiend demon ancestor roared in the Blood Fiend formation. The small part of his body that had been destroyed by the heavenly transformation hand had already healed. His bones and flesh had regenerated, and it was as if he had never been injured. Where do you think you're going? The Blood Fiend demon ancestor didn't hesitate. He drove the demonic formation and chased after Gu Fei's undying war slave. Swoosh! Gu Fei's undying war slave charged into the chaos passageway and disappeared inside. The old demon followed suit and continued his pursuit of Gu Fei's undying war slave. Blood-colored demonic patterns interweaved around his body. A demonic aura that could cause all life in the world to palpitate spread out from the old demon's body. What's going on? Why did that demonic aura suddenly become so much stronger? The ancient sages around the exit of the chaos world were shocked to the extreme. They could sense a supreme demonic energy rushing over from the other end of the chaos passageway. At this moment, a figure flashed at the exit of the chaos passageway. A person rushed out from the chaos passageway. Big Brother. Xiaoqing, who was guarding the exit of the chaos world, couldn't help but be pleasantly surprised when he saw that person. You want to screw me over? Let's see who screws over who. Ji Yufei ignored Xiaoqing. With a flip of his right hand, an ancient bronze cauldron appeared in his hand. He then placed the ancient cauldron in front of the exit of the chaos world. Buzz. The ancient cauldron vibrated. The ancient bronze cauldron turned into a huge cauldron the size of a small mountain. The mouth of the cauldron faced the exit of the chaos world. After arranging all this, Ji Yufei's real body and Xiaoqing retreated together. Not long after, a figure rushed out of the chaos world and directly rushed into the ancient bronze cauldron. The demon that was chasing after that person did not hesitate and directly rushed into the ancient bronze cauldron. Soon, the ancient cauldron began to vibrate. Powerful demonic energy erupted. The blood fiend evil ancestor knew that he had been tricked. He desperately rushed out of the cauldron. However, the blood fiend evil ancestor was intercepted again and again. The exit of the ancient cauldron was blocked by the primordial chaos chi. Unless Ji Yufei was willing to let him go, the blood fiend evil ancestor would be in for a tragedy. The ancient cauldron vibrated. Divine patterns of the Great Path appeared on the ancient cauldron. The birds, beasts, insects, and fish on the ancient cauldron seemed to come to life. They emitted an incomparably ancient aura that seemed to come from ancient times. That is, some ancient sages were extremely shocked. The aura emitted from the ancient cauldron made their hearts palpitate. A supreme item. Someone guessed something, but they were not sure. It should be known that this item was a legendary existence that had disappeared in the ancient times. Chapter 2302. Ji Yufei gave him a taste of his own medicine. He also dug a huge pit at the end of the chaos passageway and made the blood fiend demon ancestor jump into the pit. What's going on? The evil blood ancestor rushed into the mountain and river cauldron. It was as if he had entered a whole new world. All he could see was a vast expanse of whiteness. There was no earth or sky. However, the void here was so vast that even his divine will could not reach the end. An aura that made the blood fiend demon ancestor's heart palpitate came from the depths of the void. Roar! The blood fiend demon ancestor was shocked and angry. He roared and used his demonic technique. 9 demonic patterns rushed out of his body, wanting to use the power of the Great Path to break this part of the void. The 9 demonic patterns emitted a powerful demonic power that shook this part of the void. It should be known that even though his vitality was injured and he was no longer the invincible demon venerable of the past, his demonic body was the true body of the demon ancestor. The demon ancestor level Dao patterns displayed terrifying power. Every Dao pattern was like a blood-colored demonic sun, emitting endless demonic light. Rumble, the world shook. The surroundings of the 9 demonic patterns seemed to be splitting heaven and earth apart. There was chaos chi seeping out. Bang! Without any warning, the blood fiend demon ancestor, who had unparalleled demonic power, suddenly flew out. The left side of his face collapsed, and a fist mark appeared. He had actually been punched by someone. Who dares to sneak an attack on me? The blood fiend demon ancestor was shocked and angry. His broken facial bones were rapidly recovering. In just an instant, he had completely recovered, as if he had not been injured at all. The true body of the demon ancestor was incomparably strong. Ordinary means could not really hurt this demonic body. What truly shocked the blood fiend demonic ancestor was that he actually couldn't see how the person in the dark had made his move. This was truly frightening. If even he couldn't see how the person in the dark had made his move, then wouldn't the person in the dark be much stronger than him? He, a little demon child dares to call himself the demon ancestor. Don't be a joke. A divine will was transmitted, and a voice sounded directly in the blood fiend demon ancestor's heart. Who are you? If you have the guts, come out and fight me. The blood fiend demonic ancestor roared. His gaze swept in all directions, but what shocked him was that he still could not find the location of the person in the dark. How is this possible? The blood fiend demonic ancestor thought to himself. That person seemed to have melded into the void, as if he did not exist at all, yet he seemed to be everywhere at the same time. How could this be? This old devil was truly moved. He had encountered a very terrifying opponent. Could it be a human emperor or one of those immortal venerables that had yet to perish? In his opinion, only powerful existences at the level of human emperor and celestial prime could trap him. Do you really think you're the true ancestor of all demons? I'll come out just because you called me. That divine will appear again. Roar. The blood fiend demonic ancestor roared angrily. 9 demonic marks rushed out in 9 directions. Vast demonic power spread out from the 9 demonic marks. He wanted to break the void forcefully. However, at this moment, a huge hand appeared silently above the head of the blood fiend demonic ancestor. After that, a palm slapped down, causing the blood fiend demonic ancestor to fall tens of thousands of feet down. His head was smashed into his chest. Boundless blood sea. The blood fiend demonic ancestor roared angrily. He was almost driven mad. He desperately urged the demonic power in his body. Countless formation marks that lingered around him rushed out in all directions, directly imprinting themselves into the surrounding void. Rumble. The blood fiend demonic formation was activated. A blood-red world appeared in the void. The extremely terrifying demonic power caused the void to become unstable. Oh, you little devil brat, you've gone all out. Even if the true ancestor of the devils were to appear before your daddy, he would still be suppressed. That voice sounded in the blood fiend demonic ancestor's heart again. At this moment, the blood fiend demonic ancestor's demonic body had recovered. He did not say anything. He directly activated the blood fiend demonic formation. The blood-red demonic chi was like a blood-red wave, sweeping out in all directions. It seemed like it was going to fill up the entire void. However, just as the blood fiend demonic ancestor showed his power, he was punched in the chest by the person in the dark. His tendons and bones were shattered, and his entire chest caved in. His demonic body was almost broken into 2 by that person. What's going on? Impossible. The blood fiend demonic ancestor was really going crazy. He was in the demonic formation. Even if the other party's cultivation was higher than his, they could not hurt him silently. Could it be? He thought of a possibility, and his expression changed drastically. Just as the blood fiend demonic ancestor was shocked, the entire demonic formation suddenly shook. A layer of purple chi appeared outside the demonic formation. The purple chi was vast and gave off an endless aura. It actually suppressed the power of the blood fiend demonic formation that was surging out in all directions. Primordial chaos chi. When the blood fiend demonic ancestor saw the purple chi, he was even more shocked. In the 3 realms and 6 Taos, there was only one thing that gave birth to primordial chaos chi. This old devil was a carnate devil that was born from the legendary netherworld blood sea. This kind of carnate devil was born with great abilities and power. Although the blood fiend demonic ancestor was also a demon ancestor, he was not on the same level as the demon ancestors born from the chaos. In the distant past, some people called those innate devils born from chaos the true ancestors of devils. However, as a demon ancestor, the blood fiend demonic ancestor's knowledge was naturally very extraordinary. At this moment, he was already drenched in cold sweat. The mountain and river cauldron, it's the mountain and river cauldron, the blood fiend demonic ancestor muttered to himself. An extremely powerful force pressed down from all directions, causing the blood slaughter demonic formation to shrink. Even the 9 demonic marks were suppressed back into the formation. There was no suspense. Even if the blood fiend demonic ancestor wanted to go all out, it would be difficult to do so. He already knew what kind of existence he was facing. The demonic formation was broken, and the 9 demonic patterns were suppressed back into the blood fiend demonic ancestor's body by the primordial chaos chi. The blood fiend demonic ancestor was suppressed. At this moment, outside the mountain and river cauldron, Gu Fei jumped down from the mountain and river cauldron. Then, with a wave of his hand, the mountain and river cauldron rapidly shrank and flew back into his hand. Big brother, after Gu Fei suppressed the blood fiend demonic ancestor with the mountain and river cauldron, Xiaoqing hurried over. This demon is not simple. It will be difficult to refine him in a short time. Gu Fei said. He wants to use the mountain and river cauldron. Could this demon really be a demon ancestor? Chapter 2303. To think that Gu Fei had actually suppressed a demon lord. This caused everyone who witnessed this scene to be extremely shocked. One must know that it was a demon lord. Demon ancestor was a synonym for absolute power. When the news of Gu Fei suppressing the demon ancestor spread out, all the cultivators in the chaos world were shocked. That was especially true for those forces that were Gu Fei's enemies. Everyone felt insecure. The one who stole my undying war slave even suppressed a demon ancestor. He has the supreme mountain river cauldron. In the ancestral court of the Ji clan on the Myrtle Star, a middle-aged man sat on a throne as he spoke. There were only a few people standing in the hall. How is that possible? Didn't the mountain river cauldron disappear in the ancient era? An old man with a head full of white hair said. Looks like there will be another great upheaval that engulfs the 3 realms and 6 Daos in this era. Another old man sighed. Whenever a supreme saint artifact appeared, a storm of blood would be stirred up in the 3 realms and 6 paths. There would be shocking changes. Back then, when the primordial world shattered, the figure of a supreme appeared. A supreme saint tool? In the hall, a young man clenched his fists, his eyes flashing. This young man was the genius of the Ji clan, Ji Fan, who was defeated by Gu Fei. The middle-aged man sitting on the throne was the current patriarch of the Ji clan, Emperor Ji. Ji Fan had the limitless physique, innately close to all great Daos. He was the carrier of all great Daos. His cultivation and battle prowess had long surpassed his father. Without a doubt, Ji Fan would be the next patriarch. Let's wait and see. After pondering for a while, Emperor Ji, who was sitting high up on his throne, said these words. He had to plan before taking action. In this great world, if he was not careful, it would be very easy for other powers to take advantage of him. Although the Ji clan was the most powerful clan in the Ancestral Star, this was only in the Ancestral Star. One should know that there was more than one ancestral land in the human realm. In other ancestral lands, there were also Daos passed down by supremes. There were also ancient clans that had once produced supremes. In the human realm, the Ancestral Star could not be the only one. Yes. The people in the hall hurriedly responded. Since the patriarch didn't allow them to find trouble with Gu Fei, they didn't dare to do anything. One must know that the patriarch of the Ji family was someone with absolute authority. Even the unruly Ji Fan had to behave himself. Although the Ji family of the ancestral Myrtle Star was waiting to see what would happen, it didn't mean that the other superforces wouldn't make a move against Gu Fei. The mountain and river cauldron was a supreme divine tool, who wouldn't want it? However, one had to pay a price to obtain the cauldron of mountain and river. Even the ancient sages didn't dare to provoke Gu Fei. However, regardless of the era, there was no lack of crazy people. After Gu Fei had used the mountain and river cauldron to suppress the blood-fiend demon ancestor, he had been targeted. In the end, the chaotic passageway leading to the Kunlun ancestral star collapsed. This was just the beginning. The collapse of the chaotic passageway shocked many people. Subsequently, the chaotic passageways leading to other places in the 3 realms and 6 Dao also showed signs of instability. This made everyone believe that the chaotic world was about to close. The closing of the primal chaos world was no small matter. Everyone was prepared to leave the primal chaos world, because once the primal chaos passageways closed, everyone would be trapped in this world. No one would be willing to stay in this barren land. Moreover, there were extremely powerful remnant species of chaos occupying this part of the world in the chaos. The remnants of chaos were incomparably powerful and possessed the bloodline of their ancestors. Among these remnants of chaos, there were even extremely powerful and terrifying existences. Over the past decade or so, many cultivators of the human race had died tragically under the claws of the remnants of chaos. Gu Fei didn't care about this. When he and Xiaoqing returned to the sacred mountain, they were shocked to find that there were 2 more people there. One of them was a fairy in snow-white robes, and the other was a fair and chubby little fatty. Yang little grand disciple. When Gu Fei saw the 2 of them, he couldn't help but feel a little excited, especially Yang Ever since they parted ways in the heaven realm, he hadn't heard any news about her. Everyone was very tactful and retreated when they saw that Ji Yufei and Yang Er had reunited. Two figures stood at the peak of the sacred mountain. Ji Yufei and Yang Er looked at each other. They clearly had a lot to say, but they didn't know where to start. For a moment, both of them fell silent. "How have you been all these years?" In the end, Ji Yufei said this. "I'm fine, but I'm often being chased by the Eastern Emperor's Yan Jiyu." Yang Er said angrily. Back then, Ji Yufei had left her in the heaven realm, which made her resent him for a long time. She always thought that when she saw Ji Yufei again, she would teach Ji Yufei a lesson to vent her anger. However, when she really reunited with Ji Yufei, she realized that she simply couldn't do it. "Yuan Jiyu, that guy actually dared to chase after you. Where is he? I'll go and kill him to help you vent your anger." Ji Yufei said angrily. "Stop it. You're with that old turtle. Don't you know that Yuan Jiyu has already been killed by that old turtle?" Yang Er said angrily. "Is that so? I really didn't know. So that guy is already dead. Then I have no way to help you vent your anger." Ji Yufei rubbed his head and said. If anyone were to see this side of him now, their jaws would definitely drop. It turned out that behind Ji Yufei's coldness, there was actually a warm side. Ji Yufei and Yang Er chatted for 6 hours after the topic was opened. The two of them seemed to have endless topics to talk about and endless things to talk about. Sigh, Ancestral Master is such a good fairy. It's a pity that she was wooed by the Ancestral Master. Little Fatty couldn't help but shake his head when he saw the two of them standing side by side on the mountain peak. "What are you talking about, you little brat?" Beside Little Fatty, Xiaoqing reached out and knocked on Little Fatty's head. Little Fatty immediately cried out in pain and soon, a big bump appeared on Little Fatty's head. "Martial Uncle Qing, are you trying to murder me?" Little Fatty cried out as he rubbed the bump on his head. It was so painful that tears started flowing out. "Mph, since your father isn't here, I'll help him teach you." Xiaoqing looked at Little Fatty and said fiercely. "Oh my God." Chapter 2304. Ji Yufei and Yang Er's reunion was a joyous occasion. Everyone already saw Ji Yufei and Yang Er as a couple. Even Old Tortoise and Xiaoqing thought so. However, the relationship between Ji Yufei and Yang Er was a little strange. Neither of them made their relationship clear, nor did they deny it. Yang Er's appearance made Zhongli Meng a little jealous, but she also knew that she was not worthy of Ji Yufei. Only a saintess like Yang Er could be Ji Yufei's partner. In the end, Zhongli Meng left. Ji Yufei personally sent her to the chaotic passageway leading to the soaring dragon ancestral star. Zhongli Meng had been away from the ancestral star for too long, and she was homesick. Moreover, according to Old Tortoise, the 3 realms and 6 Daos would soon be in chaos, and the soaring dragon ancestral star would not be spared. As a member of the Zhongli clan, she should do her part for the clan. Ji Yufei's words made Zhongli Meng tear up. In the end, she still entered the chaotic passageway and left the chaotic land. Sigh. Ji Yufei stood at the entrance of the chaotic passageway for a long time. In the end, he let out a long sigh and returned to the sacred mountain. Old Tortoise's divine palace floated at the peak of the sacred mountain. It was an extraordinary palace with a Daoist rhyme lingering around it that resonated with the great Tao. Cultivating in the divine palace would definitely yield twice the results with half the effort. The divine palace had a great origin. It was said to be a palace belonging to the supreme Tai Huang of the monster race. It was the palace where the supreme Tai Huang once lived. That little girl has left. When Ji Yufei returned to the sacred mountain, Old Tortoise came out. Yes. Ji Yufei nodded. "I can tell that the little girl is interested in you. Have you ever thought of taking her in as well?" Old Tortoise grinned. At this time, he had turned back into the cynical old ruffian. "Are you itching for a beating?" Ji Yufei glared at Old Tortoise and said, "Don't worry, Old Tortoise. Hehe, I'm telling the truth. That peerless expert doesn't have many women behind him. It's very normal." Old Tortoise said. "Stop, this topic ends here." Ji Yufei said with a frown. At this time, he had a very strange feeling, as if there was a pair of invisible eyes spying on him. When he wanted to investigate, that feeling completely disappeared. "You're being watched." At that moment, Old Tortoise's expression became solemn. "You sensed it," Gu Fei said. If even the Old Tortoise said so, then the person who dared to spy on him was definitely not an ordinary ancient saint. The one hiding in the dark was definitely a formidable opponent. "Who is it?" Gu Fei muttered to himself. He had many friends, but he definitely had more enemies than friends, especially when the mountain and river cauldron appeared in his hands. Who wouldn't want an extreme Tao Saint artifact? Mitch, who cares who he is? If he dares to jump out, we'll just kill him, Old Tortoise said domineeringly. At this time, Old Tortoise's uncle who had disappeared for a while came to the Divine Mountain. He found Old Tortoise and told him something that made Old Tortoise furious. "Are those 4 old guys tired of living?" Old Tortoise was furious. Gu Fei learned from Old Tortoise that the demon race's ancestral court in the heaven realm was attacked and many experts of the demon race died. The person who dared to attack the demon race's ancestral court must have a powerful background. It was one of the 5 great emperors Yan of the heaven realm. Old Tortoise did not hesitate and directly returned to the heaven realm. Those who dared to touch the demon race's ancestral court must have died. "Do you need help?" In the divine palace, Gu Fei said. "Brother, I appreciate your good intentions, but your troubles aren't small either. Don't get involved in these muddy waters." Old Tortoise directly rejected Gu Fei. The ancestral court could not be lost. Old Tortoise quickly drove the divine palace through the chaotic passage to the heaven realm and returned to the heaven realm to find the 5 great emperors Yan to settle the score. Old Tortoise's departure made Gu Fei lose a great help. It was likely that the person who was secretly watching him would jump out soon. However, in the following days, nothing strange happened in the area around the Divine Mountain. Everyone on the Divine Mountain was working hard to cultivate. Even Gu Fei himself sat cross-legged on the peak of the Divine Mountain, breathing in and out the chaotic essence, hoping to improve his cultivation to the next level and become the King of Saints. The King of Saints was a rare peerless expert even in the great era of the untainted land. He could become the overlord of a region. Rumble, within Gu Fei's body, the Great Path was resonating. 9 primordial patterns of the Great Path appeared in his dantian. The 9 chaotic patterns intertwined into a ball of light, spreading waves of the Great Path. It was difficult to improve one's comprehension of the Great Path in a short period of time. Gu Fei felt that while his cultivation had reached a bottleneck, it was not easy to break through this bottleneck. Boom! While Gu Fei was cultivating, a muffled sound was heard without warning. A huge black hand suddenly appeared in the sky above the Divine Mountain, then blasted down on Gu Fei at the peak of the Divine Mountain. The peerless power of the Divine Path swept down from the black hand. The entire Divine Mountain was shaking. At this moment, everyone on the Divine Mountain was startled. "Who dares to cause trouble here?" A loud shout was heard. A figure surrounded by divine flames rushed into the sky. The shadow of a fiery phoenix rushed out from this person's body. This person was the Iron-Blood Taoist. Voom! A rumble was heard from the Iron-Blood Taoist's hand. 9 divine patterns rushed into the sky, intertwining and turning into a fiery phoenix, rushing towards the huge hand coming down from the sky. However, there was no suspense at all. 9 primordial Tao patterns surged out from the black palm that came crashing down from the sky and directly blasted the fire phoenix into a ball of divine fire that dissipated in the void. What? The Iron-Blood Taoist fell from the sky and landed at the peak of the Divine Mountain. He looked up at the black hand that was still slamming down on the Divine Mountain. His eyes sparkled. He was very shocked. The opponent was powerful enough to force him back with a single move. The Iron-Blood Taoist still wanted to rush up. However, at this moment, Gu Fei's voice was heard. "You're no match for that person. You'll only die if you go up." Gu Fei uttered such words. The Iron-Blood Taoist could not help but be extremely shocked when he heard this. Was the person who secretly attacked so powerful that he could kill saints? HMPH, cowardly scoundrel. Ji Yufei stood up from the boulder he was sitting on and threw a punch upwards. Powerful chaotic fist force rushed into the sky and collided with the black hand. Boom! The black hand in the sky exploded with a loud sound. It was shattered by Ji Yufei's seemingly casual punch. The primordial patterns were collapsing, and the black hand had also completely dispelled Ji Yufei's fist force. Chapter 2305. Ji Yufei made a move and dispersed the black hand in the air above the divine mountain with a single punch. Afterwards, the person who attacked in secret did not show himself, which greatly surprised Ji Yufei. If the attacker had already made his move, why was he still not showing himself? The attacker only struck once and disappeared. Even Ji Yufei couldn't sense the attacker's location. The attacker was in the dark while he was in the light. This made him feel uneasy. Because the enemy was hiding in the dark, his every move would be seen by the enemy. But he himself was in the light, yet he didn't know who the enemy was. Master, this. The Iron-Blood Daoist walked over. He too felt the threat from the hidden enemy. Plus, the enemy did not come out in the open. This was not good for them. Old Jiu, what happened? Yang also came to the mountain peak. In fact, the moment the black hand appeared, she already felt something was wrong. We are being watched. Be careful. Do not leave the mountain for no reason. Ji Yufei said. His voice was transmitted into the ears of everyone on the divine mountain, causing their hearts to tremble. Especially Kai Long, he could already feel that his heavenly tribulation was about to arrive. Is he going to undergo heavenly tribulation here? The red dragon was anxious. Xiaoqing had already returned to the heaven realm with the old tortoise. Now, on the mountain, other than Ji Yufei himself, only Yang and the Iron-Blood Daoist were saints. With 3 saints working together, no matter which era it was, they would be the overlord of an area. But this time, the enemy they were facing was not ordinary. Next, Ji Yufei made a decision that shocked everyone. He wanted to refine the divine mountain and take it away. This was definitely a huge move. This divine mountain was no ordinary mountain. It was a mountain that was suppressing an earth vein. Nourished by the earth vein's spiritual energy, it was close to becoming sentient. Ji Yufei and Yang worked together and guided all the spiritual energy from the earth vein into the divine mountain. After a few days, Ji Yufei and the others finally succeeded. The spiritual energy from the earth vein was all absorbed by the divine mountain. The entire divine mountain became even more sentient, as if it could awaken its own consciousness and turn into an innate mountain god at any time. Living beings nurtured by the heaven and earth were synonymous with power. If this divine mountain could awaken its own consciousness and turn into a mountain god, it would definitely be a powerful mountain god. Of course, Ji Yufei wouldn't miss out on such a divine mountain. Ji Yufei kept the sacred mountain and the others into his inner world. Then, he rushed towards the region where the chaotic passageway leading to the soaring dragon ancestral star was located. It was time for him to return to the soaring dragon ancestral star. The world was about to descend into chaos, and he felt that he had to settle his grudges before that happened. However, just as Ji Yufei was approaching the chaos channel, a black shadow suddenly appeared in front of him and stopped him. "Mph, you're finally going to jump out yourself." Ji Yufei stopped and stared at the black figure in front of him. A cruel smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Suddenly, he moved. He stretched out his hand and directly grabbed the black figure. The man in black also reached out to grab Ji Yufei. "Kill!" Ji Yufei yelled and rushed into the sky. He took a step forward and stomped down on the head of the man in black. A terrifying force surged out from Ji Yufei's right foot, shattering the hand that was about to grab him and forcing him back. Rumble! Before the black-clothed man could regain his senses, Ji Yufei had already taken his second step. An even more powerful force than the first step surged out from his feet. Bang! A dull thud was heard and the man in black was forced back again. Roar! The man roared and waved his hand. 18 flags flew out from his hand and stuck themselves in the ground. The flags fluttered and a killing formation was set up. Die! The figure of the black-robed man disappeared into the formation. The 18 flags emitted monstrous energy waves. Divine inscriptions rushed out from the flags and sealed the space around them. You want to trap me? Dream on. Gu Fei said in disdain. However, he soon had to be careful. The 18 flags began to emit extremely powerful saintly power. Rumble, the void trembled as the 18 banners emitted a powerful destructive force, rushing towards Gu Fei, who was in the middle of the formation. The void was crumbling and being annihilated. You know that I have the cauldron of mountain and river, and you still dare to attack me. You're looking to die. Gu Fei's voice was extremely calm. He then flipped his right hand and an ancient cauldron the size of a fist appeared in his hand. He held it in his palm. Bzzz. Just as the power of the 18 flags arrived, the mountain and river cauldron in Gu Fei's hand trembled slightly, and the destructive power that was heading towards him was immediately dispersed. Even the 18 flags that were inserted in the surroundings flew up, and the formation was instantly destroyed. Bang! While the man in black was still in shock, an ancient cauldron the size of a fist came smashing toward him. It directly smashed into the bridge of his nose and broke it. Immediately, his face was covered in blood. He was in an extremely sorry state as he staggered away. So you're Gu Fei. You're very strong indeed. Just as Gu Fei was about to kill the man in black, a voice suddenly came from the side. Gu Fei hurriedly turned around and looked towards the direction of the voice. He saw an elder standing on a small mountain tens of miles away, looking at Gu Fei. Who are you? Gu Fei said as he looked at the old man on top of a hill a dozen li away. You don't need to know who I am. As long as you hand over the cauldron of mountain and river, I will spare your life. How about it? The elder said. The chi on his body became sharper. He was ready to attack. The cauldron of mountain and river is in my hands. Come and take it if you can. Gu Fei looked at the elder on the small mountain. His chi also became stronger. The opponent was here for the cauldron of mountain and river. A battle was unavoidable. You've got guts. The elder gave Gu Fei a thumbs up. After so many years, this is the first time I met someone who dared to talk to me like this. The elder said. Gu Fei was getting impatient. Cut the crap. Come on. Gu Fei's battle intent surged. Even if he was facing an incomparably strong opponent, he would fight. He would never retreat. At this moment, he would fight even if the elder was an immortal venerable. Cultivators were born to be fighters. Haha, actually, I've already made my move. The elder suddenly laughed. What? Chapter 2306. Those who were spying on the cauldron of mountains and rivers finally made their move. They would not let Gu Fei return to the ancestral dragon star so easily. It was not the right time for saint-level beings to descend into the mortal world. The power that was even more terrifying than the heavenly punishment still enveloped the entire mortal world. Some of the super antiques who had lived for countless years seemed to know many secrets. After all, when the primordial world collapsed, there were still many living beings at the saint level who survived. However, these living beings only appeared for a short period of time before completely disappearing. The world had changed. No one knew when it started, but all the saint-level beings were suppressed by a force. No matter how powerful the saint-level being was, they would be mercilessly killed by that force. The saint-level beings who survived the calamity had to seal themselves to avoid it. Those people finally could not sit still when Gu Fei wanted to return to the ancestral dragon star. If they did not make their move now, they did not know when they would have the chance to do so. I've already made my move. At this moment, the words of the old man 10 miles away shocked Gu Fei. How could it be? Since the old man had already made his move, how could he not feel the slightest ripple of the power of the great path? Boom! At this moment, the void around Gu Fei suddenly collapsed. An extremely powerful force instantly pulled him into the void of chaos. This. Gu Fei was truly shocked. The old man's method was too brilliant. He had actually struck the power of the great path into the void of chaos and then attacked him. Such an attack was really special. At least, if it was used as a sneak attack, it would definitely catch the opponent off guard and they would instantly fall into the trap. That old man was really too careful. Rumble, the void trembled like thunder. After Jiu Fei was pulled into the void of chaos by that extremely powerful force, he saw a chaos formation behind him. There were countless chaotic runes intertwining, condensing into a powerful force that made even his heart palpitate. This was a formation that could kill saint-level beings. Clang! Like peerless heavenly weapons being unsheathed, 9 startling rays of sword light shot out from the chaos formation. Each ray of sword light was condensed from chaotic force and emitted terrifying sword chi. The 9 sword lights pierced through Jiu Fei, who was trapped in the chaos-killing formation, and instantly pierced his body. Roar! Jiu Fei let out a furious roar. His long hair danced wildly as an extremely powerful chaotic energy erupted from his chaotic martial body. Boom! The 9 primal chaos sword lights that pierced his body instantly shattered, turning into specks of primal chaos spirit light. He opened his mouth and inhaled, sucking all the specks of primal chaos spirit light into his mouth. What? An ancient voice sounded out. The old man was shocked to the extreme. This Jiu Fei was actually so powerful. This exceeded his expectations, and he felt a trace of unease. You have angered me. Jiu Fei stared at an empty space within the chaos formation and said coldly. He had cultivated the martial path heavenly eye, so he could immediately see where the old man was hiding. Under the martial path heavenly eye, there were no secrets within the chaos formation. Every single rune was clearly displayed in Jiu Fei's mind. He could instantly sense every tiny change in the formation. Your strength has exceeded my expectations. The old man had to admit that he had underestimated this newly minted martial saint who could kill saint-level beings. This wrong judgment made him feel danger. Things had already gone out of the old man's control. Old man, why haven't you killed this guy yet? At this moment, the voice of the mysterious black-robed man rang out. You two are accomplices. Hearing this, Jiu Fei's eyes flashed coldly. The mysterious black-robed man and this old man were accomplices, plotting against him together. Damn it. At this moment, he also understood why there was a chaos-killing formation waiting for him in the chaotic void. The old man couldn't possibly have known that he would leave the chaotic world. The black-robed man attacked first and entangled him, giving the old man time to set up the chaos-killing formation in the chaotic void before plotting against Yi Futian. Clanging sounds rang out from the formation as rays of chaos sword light condensed again. This time, each ray of chaos sword light contained a chaos Dao rune. The old man called Primordial Saint was very terrifying. He also cultivated the Great Dao of Chaos. Moreover, his understanding of the Great Dao of Chaos was even above Jiu Fei's. After all, this Primordial Saint had become a saint much earlier than Jiu Fei. He was an expert among the ancient saints. Some even suspected that this Primordial Saint had already become a saint ruler. A saint ruler was the king of saints. They were pitilessly powerful and not something ordinary saints could compare to. Who do you think you are, black dog? How dare you bark in front of me? The old man was furious when he saw that the black-robed man had dared to order him to do something. The black-robed man had become a demon saint for a black dog. However, in the eyes of the primordial saint, a dog was a dog. Even if it had become a saint, it was just a different way of saying it, adding the word saint behind the word dog. Primordial saint, you, the black-robed man was furious. Scram! The primordial saint waved his right hand and swept the black-robed man out of the chaos-killing formation. He didn't like this dog saint. If it wasn't for the person behind this dog saint, he definitely wouldn't have teamed up with this dog saint. You have to look at the owner first. Aren't you afraid of offending the person behind this dog saint? Jiu Fei watched everything coldly. He had cultivated the divine eyes of martial path, so he naturally saw the true body of the mysterious black-robed man. He also guessed that there must be someone behind this dog saint. One had to know that this dog saint wouldn't have dared to attack him if he didn't have someone to rely on. TMPH, I don't need you to care about my business. You should worry about yourself. The primordial saint stood on a mass of chaos chi and looked at Jiu Fei in the formation. His battle intent was like a rainbow and his entire body was surrounded by chaos Dao patterns. Haha, you think you've got me. Jiu Fei laughed. Although the chaos-killing formation was powerful, It couldn't do anything to him. One should know that he had cultivated the chaotic martial body. The chaotic martial body was naturally close to the chaos chi. In this chaotic void, the chaos chi was endless and could provide him with endless energy. Hand over the mountain and river cauldron and we may become friends. The primordial saint said. I don't think you're the kind of person who would rob people. Could it be that you have some difficulties? But what does that have to do with me? The mountain and river cauldron is mine and I won't hand it over to anyone.